Welcome to the SMITE Global Series. Finch here. I've got Anatoly Alexeyev with me as well. And we're taking a trip all the way to Brazil today, Toly, to watch a great set.
You're going to see a lot of action here between Nargs versus No Ping Esports to start off week 3 of the Brazilian Global Series.
In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at those Brazilian standings so we can see where everyone is already hanging out. Black Dragons, no big surprise, up at the top. They continue to look strong. Nargs have not found a win just yet, but I think we saw No Ping, I think it was last week or the week before, so they look strong, and hopefully they'll be able to keep that going here up against Nargs.
No Ping with a little bit of momentum, finding the victory over ETs in week number 2, 2-1, whereas still struggling, unfortunately, Nargs without a single victory, losing 0-2 to ETs and Black Dragons. This is their time now to find their footing, and it is going to be the conclusion of week 3 after this one, and with another 3 weeks, they need to get a little bit of a better standing to reach that Masters land.
That's right. They got to try and build some momentum going into that back half. They want to improve their chances of making it, as you said. But we are just about ready to move into picks and bans. We'll get those up on the screen for you in just a moment and see what it is exactly they want to prioritize. Nargs up against No Ping Esports. And you talked about it a little bit already. We saw No Ping playing last week. This team plays pretty aggressive, I feel like. Really, everybody here in Brazil does. I'm wondering if they're going to try and bring that same energy here up against Nargs. Even though Nargs haven't found any wins yet, they still have a chance maybe to capitalize on that aggression.
I think that No Ping is going to rely on Dentola's support. The way he was able to pilot the Terra, being able to get into the backline, being able to pop that Earth and Fury, makes the impact for team fights. And I'm surprised that Nargs is not banning it. Maybe they're going to look to pick it themselves if they did their homework.
He looked entirely different on that Terra pick, as opposed, I think it was game 1 where he wasn't playing it, and the next 2 we saw him play it, and then the next 2 they won. It just looked that much better on that Terra pick. So now, hopefully, they'll be able to pick that one up for him, as Narg's going to prioritize the Athena, a very strong Guardian in her own right. So I got no problems with that.
The global pressure in Season 5, the map increasing in the width, is not a bad idea to get more mobility for not only yourself, but the squad, being able to save one of your side lanes or any sort of action in the jungle. But you give up the global pressure, you get a lot of damage in return. Achilles comes early, Shibalanki damage comes late.
And Achilles very strong in that early game, so they're going to have to play around that, as you talked about there, Toly. And Shibalanki is so good at countering what Athena can do, right? When they use Defender of Olympus, they're trying to set up that pick. You drop that Darkest Night, and now it's a little bit harder for them to go for that big gank over in solo or trying to catch out the mid laner. I love Shibalanki not just for his damage, but it's kind of a good defensive option.
It's very true. And look at this double guarding composition from Narg, the Athena and the Sobek. This is a way you really start dictating certain team fights in the mid game between the Plucks, Tail Whips, you got the Confound Taunt.
There it is.
And the Terra for Dentola. We'll see if he's able to repeat the week 2 performance.
I would not be surprised. He looked worlds different on it, and hopefully he'll be able to keep that going. But you're alluding to this sort of double Guardian composition. Guardians, it really feels like are in a strong place right now. You know, they do decent base damage. They've got such strong control. And Sobek in particular, I mean, his disruption between the Tail Whip, between the lurking in the waters, I mean, one pluck, you feel like, and the fight's just on your side.
It's so easy to really disrupt Shibalanki as well, being able to stop him halfway through his dash before he gets that CC immunity. So that could be another option. You really put pressure on this late game Hunter before he gets off the ground. Whether it's Athena or the Sobek, I think there's a lot of shutdown potential if Nargs play their cards right.
Now, I might be interested to see if No Ping want to go into more sustain. They do ban away the Odin. To be fair, no, I don't think anyone they have can get out of that anyway, so you might just want to get rid of the Odin pick as is, but might be a signal they want to try and get a little bit more sustain on this comp as well.
Definitely could be the case. If Odin was selected from Nargs, it would be triple frontliner in terms of 2 Guardians and 1 Warrior. Then where are you going to put the jungler? It would be an Odin jungler. It's not really your assassin style to bring in that kind of mobility for the team, but if Nargs can slowly create this death ball, I don't really mind that idea.
Oh, it is going to be triple Guardian.
Wow.
Okay. So I guess Athena jungle then? Sobek solo is what we're thinking with this comp?
I don't think in all my time playing Smite that I've seen a Sobek jungle.
What about Fafnir jungle?
That too.
That's probably the worst. That's probably the worst jungle of the 3.
But Defender of Olympus does a lot of damage, base damage, and scaling wise. I believe it scales up to 70+%, as well as that shield wall damage. If you can confirm the second hit of it, and you have magical power coming from the jungle roll, all of a sudden those Defender of Olympuses are not being used defensively. They're being used to kill people in the side lanes.
Well, let's see where all these picks are going to end up for Nargs, as No Ping round their draft out with the Poseidon in the mid lane. That's a ton of burst damage, but can you really burst down all these Guardians? That's going to be the focus here for No Ping, because there's also no mid laner. It's double Hunter, triple Guardian, and I like it with the Fafnir. Obviously, the AoE chorus is a great synergy with the double Hunter, but I mean, are these even the 2 big late game carry Hunters you want?
This is not both of them that you would want, because one of them is an ability-based hunter, which makes sense in the mid lane, and you want to be able to get off those early jungle skirmishes in your favor. Petrify controls a lot of space inside those little jungle corridors,
really
and
does,
that
yeah.
could definitely be the turning point. But the Xingwei does have some merit as long as your frontliners are able to control the battleground. That Xingwei, with a couple of items and a couple of crits, is going to change the tides. This is the old Season 4 Elevate idea that got them to HRX.
That's right. I wouldn't even have been surprised if we saw maybe like a Ho Yi. He can usually toe that line pretty well with a big AoE ult and still really good late game damage. As Jules goes aggressive there in the mid lane, does force Dunkel and Balisk back a little bit there with that extra pressure coming out from this dodgy jungle. But instead, going with the Medusa and going with this Xingwei. And now the collapse could potentially be on. No Ping is looking for action early. Dunkel has to dash away. Is getting chased a little bit out. Those branching bolas are hitting, but apparently don't have any more control. Dintol and the rest of the squad just come back towards red.
And that's going to be a clean invade afterwards. The sprint was used by No Ping offensively after the left side mid Harpies, but keep in mind that Dunkel, when he was rotating middle, he thought that there was a kill potential, so he used his sprint, not being able to get away from that one as cleanly as he wanted. He took too much damage to really do anything about preventing that red buff steal.
And it really is going to be that jungle Athena, as we thought. Already has the Assassin's Blessing. Looked like might be even working towards a potential Void Stone potentially to go along with that. So I like this from Dunkel. I mean, we've seen Athena jungle. It's not unheard of. You talked about some of the base damage that it does. It does not have struggle that badly to clear camps. And if you want a jungle that can make rotations, well, Dunkel can just click on you and be there.
It's definitely going to be a global pressure written across the board. But I like this Poseidon pick out of Silva in No Ping's middle lane, because the Fafnir selection, it's so easy to just Whirlpool Kraken him as he's transforming into the dragon. You're immune to CCs, but you're not immune to damage.
You have a clean target once he de-transforms as well, as No Ping go aggressive yet again into the duo lane. A gets actually forced out from Aqua in the duo lane, so no surprise that No Ping are keeping up their aggression from week 2 that let them get those back 2 games here up against Nargs now in week 3. And No Ping's looking strong. They want to try and catch back up. Black Dragons here up at the top of the region. The rest of these teams, they know what they're looking for. They know where they want to try and be, and they get to practice up against a strong squad all the time, and it's starting to show for this region as a whole.
And now No Ping is definitely a couple questions up in there of how they resolve this issue of the double hunter, triple guardian, because it's not a very common strategy in the SPL. It's not a very common strategy in Brazil, obviously, if No Ping is not the ones running it as well. So it's not every day you get a chance to see if you can flex your normal traditional style against a unique one like this. And so far, they've been pretty quiet, as Jules just now hitting level 4. Meanwhile, Dunkel has been level 4 for quite some time.
And they've already run into the problem, I mean, talking about if you have to adjust your strategies, one of the things that is difficult about going into this comp is the red buff invade is successful yet again, which is that it's hard to get to those carries. It's hard to get to Balisk, it's hard to get to Aqua, and these Guardians are all relatively safe with good movement abilities to get them out of danger. So it's hard to have someone that you can all in on when, as you mentioned, Elevate was running it, or Mouse now, I suppose, when they were running it, they were doing such a good job protecting like the Ho Yi in the mid lane. Like they had the big damage dealers with the Kabrakens that you couldn't all in, as the ultimate comes up from Silva in mid lane. He's in trouble, drops the ultimate down on top of Balisk, but everyone survives.
Oh, the root onto the Medusa, forcing the beats and the stun right onto the Athena Whirlpool for the cripple, but the dash being charged right outside of it. Perfect peel, self-peel for Silva. He gets the knockup from the Kraken, and then he gets the knockup from that Tidal Surge. Just such an easy opportunity to find a kill, but with a perfectly placed double ability, saving his own life.
Aqua is getting some pressure here from Yufel in the duo lane on that Xbalanque. It'll hit level 5 a little bit early, but that's kind of what I was alluding to. It's hard to punish this composition when they go aggressive in the middle lane. Yes, Silva does a good job defending, and you think you should be able to turn around and find a kill, especially with Jules rotating in, but that's an Athena that you're trying to dive in on, you know, and not the easiest target to kill. In fact, Yufel has to fall back now, and actually going back in now. They have to sprint, dropping the Darkest Night ultimate. The disarm was great from Neek to try and slow down some of this damage. Now Aqua is getting turned on, trapped inside the field. Yufel finds the first blood for No Ping.
I guess Aqua just didn't have enough mana for that airstrike to disengage. He uses agility aggressively, and then Yufel was like, oh, your escape is down and your mana is a little depleted there, buddy. Let me go and resolve that issue for you.
Sends him back to base. Now Aqua's got full mana, so I guess in a way he did resolve it, but probably not in the way that Aqua would have liked. Either way, you don't want to be giving free damage, free kills over to the Xbalanque early on, especially in a direct lane matchup. Just going to make things even harder now for Aqua going up Xbalanque, who can already feel pretty strong.
We didn't really talk much about this solo lane matchup, as Best started with that tier 1 breastplate for 20 physical protections. He's able to just absorb a lot of these Achilles hits and some of these minions, but look at the difference of the blessings. Best goes for the Guardian's Blessing. He's trying to not last hit so that he could just get more gold per second.
It is very interesting that he's elected to go with the Guardian's Blessing here, right? And I think perhaps the idea is that he's worried that Spexzilla will be able to constantly push his wave under tower or out pressure him on the wave.
That's something that you're normally used to in the Guardian versus Warrior situation, but as a Sobek, you're generally fine in terms of clearing the wave after level 5 anyway. You use the Lurking in the Water, which gets you to level 6 after that next wave more often than not. And then you just use your Sickening Strike about 2 times per wave, and then it's all clear.
Yeah, a little bit surprising he's not going with the Warrior's Blessing here. I mean, it's very strong to get some of all that extra protection. The sustain can be strong, too, to help you sort of match what Achilles already has in his kit anyway, and that's just something that Best will not have at his disposal. And we'll see if Spexzilla is able to punish it. But another interesting part about this solo lane is that is one way to make killing these Guardians a little bit easier, right? You don't have to kill them entirely if Spexzilla can land that Fatal Strike and get those executes.
That's very true here. And now the passive of the Guardian's Blessing. Hold that thought, though, in the mid lane. Silva using the Purification Beads. Dash in from Medusa, but he eats the Kraken.
Looks like Boss gets the beads not get knocked up, but it does not matter. Silva able to find the kill anyway, and the immediate snap pull onto Dunkel. Rooted and misses, actually, with the Tidal Surge. Does not matter. Jules is right there to find the kill. 3 kills in total for no ping if you account across the whole game, and 1-0-1 for the mid lane Silva.
That was such an important rotation from Dentola that was there right before Neek was. That Earth and Fury, way more impactful, and because Neek wasn't present, it was a 3-on-2 that had no ping's name written all over it. And Silva, yet again, peeling so effectively for himself. He gets the damage off onto Ballast, punishing this Medusa for trying to offensively dash.
And it's been Silva responding to the ganks that's been the big difference maker for me. If the score is like 3-2 now, where they still lose the fights afterwards, but Silva's died on both the ganks, this game feels very different. But Silva survived every single time and helped get the return kills. It's just been very punishing for Nargs trying to gank this Poseidon.
The mid lane, the root onto Neek, but a great stun onto Silva to prevent any sort of follow. This time it's a 3-on-2 for Nargs.
Dunkel comes in from the jungle, has the dash taunt available, but there's really not any more follow-up. Neek has jumped in, AoE chorus comes out, but it's really only Dentola to worry about, unless Ufel shows up, drops the Darkest of Nights. They're trying to see if they can catch Neek while he's de-transforming, and they can. Whirlpool into the wall, sets up the kill for Dentola, make it 4 kills, but the support is gonna pay.
Oh, the Kraken to respond in the back line, pincering his Ufeli, but Silva is going to fall right on the top side. Jules here with the cleanup. Defender of Olympus not even going to matter, using the ultimate out of Jingwei just to disengage, but a tower dive was not enough.
Now they are going to look for the dive. They can't quite find it. Aqua makes a big rotation over from the duo lane to match Ufel's presence. That's how they're able to get a couple of those return kills there, along with some nice play from Dunkel on the Athena. In fact, Jules still going aggressive. Best is right here on the level 10 Sobek, but I don't think Jules is that deterred. Is going to fall back.
No, definitely needs to respect the Sobek potential with Lurking in the Water. If you don't have anybody close to you to look for that escape, you're just going to be one dead dodgy. And something interesting to note is Best with the Guardian's Blessing, right? Like, you get an extra 4 gold every 5 seconds. You're looking at 12 gold every minute extra as opposed to your opposing lane opponent, which is good. But if you're last hitting anyway, you're not getting that assisted 3 extra gold per minute assisted, right? So you're not getting the true value as compared to the traditional support. His gold per minute, yes, is a little bit higher, but that extra 12 per minute, like, you're looking at, after 10 minutes, 120 gold, which is only 1 Sentry Ward.
And it's not going to quite match up with what the value that you're getting out of the Warrior's Blessing potentially. We'll see if Best can make it work out item-wise, as Dunkel is going to be the target. Jules is right there following up with him. Dragonic Corruption comes out from Neek to cut off the engaged path and set up a way for the rest of Nargs to get back underneath their tier 1 tower. So a couple ultimates used there by No Ping, but not able to find much.
And with all these ultimates down, there could be a little bit of action for No Ping to take advantage of. This Silva ultimate still very valuable. They just usually will rely on it onto Neek if given the opportunity during the transformation, or this kind of setup out of Dentola.
Can't quite land the control onto Ballast. They've been having a good time going after him as a target. Neek does not have Dragonic Corruption. Remember, he already had to use that defensively, but they can't chase him any further. Aqua jumps away, and they're going to turn their attention towards...
They were thinking about
the Gold Fury pit at the very least.
They were looking at it menacingly. I'll feel you on that, Finch. And this level 6 Fafnir that just turns level 7 took about 60 to 70% of his health pool off of 2 abilities from this level 10 Dodgy. It's only going to get scarier as time progresses. Jules now going into the backline onto the Medusa, forcing the disengage. Earth and Fury is going to scare Narcs for the moment.
That is, though, a big team fighting ultimate from No Ping that's down. So they won't have that available if they do want to go for the Gold Fury, and they didn't find anything off the back of it, didn't force any relics or any important cooldowns, so it's good for Narcs to be able to have gotten out of that one cleanly. And they are approaching, you know, eventually having double hunters, but as strong as Jinwei can be with those crits late game, this isn't the same as if you have Artemis, Xbalanque. This isn't the same as if you have some of those big-time late-game hunters, so it kind of feels like they're trying to run towards a goal that's not that oppressive anyway. It's
very true, and it's a lot easier to build around physical defense from No Ping if they want to be able to shut down the hunters. They'll go for a Guardian Mail, Witchblade, maybe Horrific Emblem upgrade to reduce some more attack speed. There's several options for No Ping, but that could allow a small opening for Nargs on the magical damage side. Guardians in their own right have enough base damage that you don't always have to build damage items onto them. As long as Dunkel is the one doing it, he's going to be swinging quite heavily. That first Druid Stone, which you thought was going to be the Void Stone, which was right. I thought for a moment it might have even been the Stone of Binding to get that 15 penetration aura online, because that taunt so useful in, you know, forcing the beads. But even if you force the beads out of them, you still want to apply that penetration aura for your double hunters.
And it really does look like No Ping has put some respect onto that damage as Aqua has the airstrike forced out. Jules came into the dual lane to apply some pressure. Couldn't quite catch him out though. But you can already see it's like the Hide of the Urchin into more magic defense. The Ankile prioritized early for Jules. No Ping are recognizing that base damage you alluded to from the Guardians early, and then they can itemize into physical defense once these hunters get some items on.
And we've seen a lot more Hide of Urchin with the 5.9 changes going from 10 stacks to 7 and increasing the protections from 2 to 3. Hold that thought though, because in the left side, Yufel gonna run for the moment, but that leaves his partner Jules high and dry.
He is up on that Powwow. Defender of Olympus has been forced out already. Dentola's here though with those walls, and Spexzilla has made the rotation as well. They're ready to start diving. The tier 1's already been taken down. Neek is left alone on the backside, and they've got the Kraken waiting for him when he comes out. 2 kills already for Nars, but Aqua wants to return the favor on the Jules. The jungler for No Ping has dropped down. 4v3 for No Ping if they want to force into the tier 2, but I think they've got their eyes on the Gold Fury jungle prize.
Yes, Jules did fall, but not until he took out the life from Dunkel, making it at least a 2-for-1. With this 4-on-3 advantage for at least another 5 seconds, Nargs needs to be mindful about this Gold Fury. They need to also take advantage of Yufeli that doesn't have much mana.
Best almost had Silva, but now his pluck is down. The tail whip is good to kind of knock everyone back and create some space to disengage, but No Ping, they might be too low to go for this Gold Fury now. They still have Yufel here with low mana, but they're not going to go for it. Kraken Secure had to be used to punish Neek. They didn't feel quite comfortable going up against it, even with still these Guardians left over, so they fall back. I mean, they have about an 1,800 to 2,000 gold lead, but really it's not that much. No Ping are out in front, but certainly Nargs can still fight into it.
It's very true. If there even is somebody without mana, you would want it to be your hunter to at least still do the basic attack damage onto an objective. But with Silva having his health percentage in the red zone, that's warranted to go back to base and take a breather and start working on this utility item that might actually be an early gem of isolation from Silva, working very effectively with that Vortex Whirlpool, bringing people a little bit closer, guaranteeing more targets with the Kraken.
Yeah, I think that's the build we've seen pretty often, except with perhaps the Shaman's Ring in there, where I think he has the Chronos Pendant instead from Silva. So that's kind of a build we've seen, as now Noping are ready to pull this Gold Fury down to about half HP. Dunkel and Aqua are here. Kraken is used for the confirm. Noping grabbed the Gold Fury, and Jules wants to try and have the fight as well. Dunkel is trapped inside the Whirlpool. It's just too strong. Nowhere for him to go. Another kill for Noping along with the Gold Fury.
I mean, what do? You can't dash away, and by the time you use your ultimate, you're still going to receive all that damage right on top of you. So that was a clean Gold Fury attempt, a clean pick onto the Athena. He might need to invest into an early Purification Beads or a Mad Guy's Cloak as soon as he hits that level 12 mark.
Looks like it is a little bit of trouble there for Dunkel on the side of Nargs. So they might be going to a pause here, trying to get him back into the game. But that Gold Fury for Noping is important. That's going to help them extend this lead out a little bit further. That was the kind of neutral objective that they needed to start forcing. As yes, there is going to be the pause. We'll get Dunkel right back into this one in just a moment, or at least that's what Nargs are going to be trying to do with this time. But I mean, totally, if you're Nargs and you just lost the Gold Fury, lost a life there, I mean, where are they trying to regroup and find a way back in here with this double Hunter, triple Guardian?
It's about looking for the wards and the little skirmishes in the jungle. These mid Harpies are so important for the Medusa. The Petrify is what you're looking for. Taunt into Petrify, stun from Fafnir. Even if you don't get the stun off necessarily, you guarantee the slow. Even half damage of Medusa ultimate is
not bad.
It's enough to force somebody to run away.
Yeah, it's still pretty good if they can get that off. And you're right, they do have some good AoE abilities in that ultimate, in the the acid spray from Balisk as well. Aqua, if he can use the airstrike offensively, he's been forced to use as an escape more often than not. They still can have a big impact, but Sprekzilla wants to find the kill in mid lane. Balisk is already down. Kraken onto Neek into the Whirlpool. Nowhere for the Dragon to go. He's an execute threshold, but it's the chain that pulls him back in. Jules, double kill out of the jungler for Noping. Next up on the chopping block is going to be Best JJ. He is able to pluck away, but they're going to turn back towards the tier 1.
500 gold additionally added to Noping's pocket. Only 3 Nargs right around this corner. Gonna watch as Noping enters the right side of the map. The Pyromancer could be the next one looked at.
It is going to be looked at by Noping. Best is right around the corner trying to defend. Aqua not too far. He blinks in, lurking in the waters. He's looking for targets, and the Defender of Olympus is on top as well. That's a great combination, but gets interrupted by Dentola with the walls. Now very low here is Dunkel trying to find a way out. Sprekzilla continues to be the front line, has those thorns a-ticking, and Aqua could be in a whole heap of trouble. Still has the airstrike if he needs to escape, but Best needs help too, and Jules finds another kill.
The dots, too much for Best to handle.
And Crusher.
Yes, this is a lot of damage on top of one another, and that's what Dodgy really works on effectively.
Oh, good find.
Medusa with the hot flank. Balisk finding Jules slipping.
That might have been Jules just a little bit too far forward out of position, but you're right. That damage over time from this Dodgy paired up with the Crusher has been really strong for Jules so far. 6, 2, and 3 out of the jungler for Noping. We don't see Dodgy as much anymore, but Jules making a good case for Dodgy to be played a little bit more often.
That Gem of Isolation, man.
Disgusting.
Medusa takes a decent amount of damage there. About 20% of her health gone just from almost all those ticks. And if you add a Kraken on top of that, probably definitely will be the case. And it's such a great utility item for the Poseidon. A lot of people will try to min-max math for damage, but if you can slow people down like this for 25%, then not only are you getting off more damage with your Trident basic attacks, but so are your teammates.
Dunkel has to come over to peel Sprekzilla away from Aqua. They're dropping the Frenzy. They want to kill this Achilles. Fatal Strike used to re-engage because Ufel is coming in around the corner, has the Darkest Night. The stun into the damage is enough to take down the opposing Hunter. Narg's got to take a seat. Dunkel has to retreat as well because Dentola right around the corner. And actually going to turn around and look for the fight, and I think that might spell the end here for Dunkel. Into the Kraken, into the Whirlpool. Ufel finds another kill.
Not sure if the Kraken was 100% necessary under that Whirlpool cripple, but better safe than sorry. With these 3 picks, a couple of objectives might have just opened up for Noping. They're able to group up 4 members strong on the left, trying to go for this tier 2 tower as Jules making sure they don't lose their tier 1 on the right.
Now Neek has been stunned into the Whirlpool. This Gem of Isolation is doing work totally. Tier 2 on left-hand side falls as well for Noping. And for me, part of this is kind of coming down to this Medusa pick. It has not worked out in the mid lane. It's been repeatedly caught out by Jules, and its impact in the team fights has not been great. 3rd from the bottom in terms of damage. I mean, even Dentola is ahead right now. I mean, normally with this comp, you run the 3 Protect 1 or 3 Protect 2 with a late game, big damage dealing Hunter who's going to go off. I mean, I just don't know if Medusa was the pick here. I mean, what's your thoughts on this?
I think the problem was Ballas got a little bit too greedy in certain teamfights in the mid lane. As he dashes in aggressively, he gets punished by Silva. The fact that they couldn't pick off Silva on several occasions also allowed Ballas to just keep faltering, unfortunately. And Dentola's rotations have allowed that advantage to swing No Ping's way because Neek was just always one step behind.
Dentola has been out-rotating Neek a little bit here, and it's helped out for Silva. But Silva's had some great plays just on his own as the fight is on. Airstrike forced out from Aqua very early, big time. Earth and Fury comes out into the Kraken. Dunkel already very low and just barely still holding on to life. Balisk falls on left-hand side. Dentola goes in, gets taunted out, so Dunkel does have an escape path, but Best does not. Gets pushed back towards the rest of the squad, and they catch him in the alley. Best ends up falling. No Ping now going to turn their eyes towards the tier 2.
A crazy advantage now. 7,000 gold almost exactly for No Ping, as they're going to actually ignore this tier 2 tower in the solo lane. They're going to use the fact that Best and Balisk are still dead for at least another 15 seconds to confirm the first Fire Giant of the game.
And really, there's no way for Nargs to come up and defend. This Fire Giant going to be going the way of No Ping. And it's the lead, perhaps, for No Ping that's coming out, but it looks like they're the ones controlling the fight even better than Nargs are with their triple Guardians. Dentola is on point with all these walls, all the roots, and Silva following up with the Whirlpool might be the best control tool, really, out of them all on the side of No Ping.
If they had the Terra instead of the Fafnir, then Nargs' composition would be through the roof. Kraken going to eliminate Dunkel. Jules not able to best Aqua, but the rest of his teammates certainly can. A 2-for-1, and still plenty of time for the Fire Giant buff to make value by getting this Gold Fury objective.
Yeah, not the first time we've seen Jules have to die for the greater good, as he is a 2-for-1 trade that ends up happening out. 7-3 and 7, still having a great game for himself. 4 levels over Dunkel on the Athena jungle, who has not been able to find much farm. He's taken quite a few spills himself. So even though Jules goes down there, I think he's still happy with the trade. And there's still plenty of tier 2 towers for No Ping to grab as well to add to that gold lead. But you were talking about maybe the Terra over the Fafnir for Nargs.
The Fafnir was a nice idea because of the double Hunter, and you already have the Sobek Athena to control more team fights, but the Terra is what's helping No Ping turn the team fights. Like, yes, they have damage on the Hunters, but the Earth and Fury reducing about 10% of that damage, and then 10% additional to your teammates is what's really allowing some of these team fights to just go No Ping's way. Sorry, 5%.
What an absurd. This is absurd.
Used to be 10%.
That's probably good.
Oh, but, look at Dentola trolling his teammate with the wall.
They're having a good time. I mean, they're ahead at this point totally. I mean, they've been playing so well as a unit, so Dentola just showing how good his walls are.
That's true.
And when he's on this Terra, I mean, he just feels like a different player. You said it before the picks and bans. I think you can't let him play Terra. I think you just can't.
I definitely agree with you. I would like to see in game number 2, if Nargs does drop this one, to at least eliminate that option from Dentola. They can't get their aggressive composition off the ground with, you know, Mother Earth just stopping them.
And I think we've seen how well that this Poseidon into Fafnir matchup works out in No Ping's favor too. Every time he transforms, what's waiting for him when he lands but a Whirlpool and a Kraken, and he just hasn't had a chance to impact the game as the siege is on. No Ping want the mid-Phoenix. It's already been shredded. 2-man stun lands from Balisk, but they're just too far behind. Kraken deletes Best. Spexzilla comes in. He's able to take down Dunkel 5v3 now, and the rest of Nargs have to fall back towards the fountain. It goes up into the Draconic Corruption, lands into the Whirlpool. Double kill for Ufel on the Xbalanque Hunter. Now 5v2, Titan in a 5v1 doesn't stand a chance. Brought down to half health, and No Ping are going to take game 1.
What a clean performance out of No Ping thus far. 21-5. They secured the first game in the best of 3 in less than 24 minutes of gameplay. Honestly, the way they've been able to make these changes from weeks 1 to week 2, the dominant game 1 in week 3, game 2, there needs to be some answered questions from Nargs because that Terra performance was just unstoppable.
It really was too strong. And I want to give all the credit we can to Dentola, but the entire composition, it felt like was really strong. I mean, Silva on the Poseidon in particular stood out to me too, because he did such a good job punishing the Fafnir with the Gem of Isolation slows. The Krakens, maybe not always 100% necessary, but definitely on point.
He was his ability to survive these early engagements was the MVP for his own individual performance, more than his aggressive Krakens. even though that last team fight was very important. He got 2 with the Kraken.
It was big, yeah.
The double knock-up allowed that mid-Phoenix Siege to be that much easier, the Titan Siege to be almost guaranteed, but if your mid laner survives like that, and then all of a sudden your support is making it a 3-on-2 compared to enemy support, all those cogs are turning, and that's why No Ping won this game.
And I don't want there to be Nargs moving away from the triple hunter double hunter triple guardian. I'm not saying that strat can't work. I just don't know if personally I thought those were the best picks to fit those roles. Plus, it wasn't the best start either, so we didn't really get to see it in its full force. Like, Medusa fell behind so early, so quickly. So if they want to give it another try, I don't hate it, just maybe with a better start or different picks.
It's very true. I mean, if they could get a little bit of control, if they can get Silva out of the team fights to not worry about the Kraken steal, then their team composition becomes this objective securing one where you have the double hunter to melt the objectives, you have the Fafnir to boost their coerce with the attack speed.
Well, let's go ahead and move into picks and bans for Game 2, see what the adjustment is that Nar is going to make, or if No Ping are going to continue to be just too strong. But again, I'm not surprised that No Ping had that strong of a performance. I mean, this whole region's just constantly getting better, totally. No Ping looked great when we watched them last week, and again, they've been practicing up against Black Dragons there at the top, so they've got good practice.
They beat ETs in week number 2. They just need to find those victories over Black Dragons, their arch nemesis, it seems. Yeah, with that much experience collectively behind them, it's difficult to really topple them. They've been consistently in a lot of Masters lands and a lot of these international lands, and this could be the one split where it might not be Black Dragon's names.
That's right. It's certainly a possibility, totally. That's why we want to make sure we're keeping our eyes on them. Of course, No Ping, got to take care of the opponent right in front of them first, and that's going to be Nargs. No Ping will be first pick this time, so we'll see what is they want to prioritize, but they've taken the Circuit and the Guan Yu off the table already.
It seems that the healers are the highly contested one in this current meta of Season 5. Whether or not it's going to be in the Global Series, SPL, SML, it's just, it makes these all-in engagements more riskier, because if you don't successfully execute, then those healers are going to turn it around for round 2.
And I like this. Jules had a great game on the Dodgy. Did he end up getting picked a couple times, maybe? Or not picked, but he ended up being the one that fell. Sure. But he was, playing forward. He was being aggressive. He was forcing cooldowns on the opponents. And if that's the price you pay, I think No Ping are okay with paying it. And Jules had a great performance.
Normally it was a 2-for-1, if not better.
Yeah,
out of Jules' engagements in the backline. That's what you really are expecting from your jungler, just to set up for your teammates, control the early pace of the game, being able to open up some avenues. And with a Router Tasker from Nargs, this is a different kind of global pressure from their jungle.
And I like this. It does, like you said, kind of play a little bit similarly in that you are kind of trying to dunk down from the ground, from the sky, but everything else just feels a little bit more impactful from a jungler position. Gonna bring the damage, still has the control. But I'm very curious. Thoth and the Dodgy is usually considered a poor matchup. We usually see it the other way around, where the Thoth is picked, then I grab a Dodgy, but we have the Dodgy and you pick a Thoth.
That's very true. Thoth can stun the Dodgy out of that channeled ability, but it is not easy stunning a Dodgy with the blades, because you get the increased movement speed.
She's so fast.
She's so tricky to really lock down, and if Nargs can do it in the mid lane, then they should be able to shut her down, but it's hard.
Aqua looks like is going to be going back towards that Jingwei pick. Didn't get to see too much from him either. It was almost always being forced to fall back, but as the hunter, there's not much you can do when the mid-solo, not mid-solo, but jungle, mid, and Guardian have kind of gotten out of control already, and you're kind of forced to play defensively, so Aqua's going to give it the run back on the Jingwei.
I like the Poseidon ban, because they're probably going to be leaning a little bit more on this Fafnir if they really want to, because Thoth is not your mid-hunter, but it boosts your basic attack damage through the wall. So if you add a Coerce on top of it, it still works as a pseudo-hunter in terms of some of these objectives.
No, I get what you mean. So like you're all shooting through the glyph and everyone's auto attacks do more, and of course increases the speed. So certainly some good synergy there as the Achilles Xbalanque come back out for No Ping. So far, they've got a lot of what worked really well for them last game. Speczilla's rotations on the Achilles were great. You fell on the Xbalanque was awesome too. But this time they have better matchups. I like the Ratatosker as opposed to the Athena, the Hercules in the solo lane as opposed to the Sobek. They've got better matchups to fight early.
The warrior damage is going to be more fruitful in the early laning phase in the solo. We'll see how that stacks up against the shirtless Achilles, but the Excavate, you can never really ignore that in some of these jungle fights.
Looks like it's going to be the Athena on the side of No Ping this time, actually. So if you liked how well Dentola was able to play on the Terra, well, hopefully he'll be able to do the same things on this Athena for the squad. And it looks like they're the ones that banned Terra out themselves. A little bit curious that they took that one away.
Nargs was with the next pick after secondary ban phase, with the support still unlocked. They were afraid of that potential Terra. The way Dentola plays, and Nargs can play probably just as well. You press that 4 key, and then all of a sudden you're winning that team fight.
You just look good after that, don't you, all of a sudden? But it looks like we are ready here to move into game 1, or game 2 rather, between these two squads. No Ping already grabbed game 1. It looks like everything's going where we expected to. Nothing particularly surprising, but Dentola on this Athena. We know how well he can play the Terra. Now my eyes are going to be if he can keep that same kind of impact here on another very big-time Guardian.
A little bit of a slow purple buff start from Nargs, and Dentola and Yufel is already there to clean it up. It has not been stolen, but that could have been done a little bit quicker to be able to secure more minions under their own tower.
Yeah, it looks like they recognized that they were going to have to fall back to purple buff a little bit too late in that situation, and because of that, they end up taking some more damage than they have to and lose some minions. But No Ping might be giving a little bit back. They're going to go for this red buff invade. That is going to give time for Nargs to take this wave, and they might even come straight down to this purple and try and strip that away from No Ping.
Definitely could be the case, but they don't have the lane advantage anymore, so going into the Oracles, hold that thought. Dunkel too far forward for his own good.
Ends up dropping for first blood over to Jules, and on this Dodgy, he's
gonna be
just
another
too
one.
strong early, and Bosk is in some trouble. Jules gets a couple autos in. It's ticking, just not quite enough.
I thought it was going to be enough, but it is only a level 2 Dodgy, not enough damage, but a technical knockout. Forcing him back to base means that Ballast is not going to get all that gold or experience, almost just as effective as a kill, because the respawn time are level 2. You're looking at about 3 to 5 seconds anyway, and it takes you 5 seconds to back.
But taking a look back at this duo lane start, it has not worked out in favor of No Ping. Dentola is a good bit behind Neek and Aqua now. I would say about half a level, if not a little bit more. Yufel is level 2 now, but they had to go over to the red buff and the purple buff and grab the red buff from the jungle, and looks like they got their purple stripped away.
What they could have done actually was, after the failed purple buff invade, go back to the lane, clear the next one, and then look for the red buff invade. Because of how much pressure there was out of No Ping's mid lane, they were really free to invade the red whenever they wanted to. They didn't have to do it then and there.
This is already looking, though, like a better game for Aqua. I mean, I was talking about it a little bit in the picks and bans. It wasn't so much that they had a poor performance on the Jing Wei, but that as a hunter, when you rotate over, if your team's already behind, it's hard to have a big impact if you're just even. But now, he's had a much easier time in the early game. He's already looking better. Sprint comes out, though. Dentola and Yufel, they want to go aggressive onto Neek. Rising Jaguar coming out, but does get hit by the knock-up. And now Aqua is ready to try and trade out some damage. But it's the 2v1. Yufel needs someone to block these shots.
The blink in the backline, though. Neek is looking for the Shibalanke, but instead it's going to be Ballast with the hot dash stun from the Thoth.
It's the mid-mage that made the rotation over, not the jungler. Take a look. It's still Silva in mid, and Dunkel's going to rotate over to defend. Ballast coming over and making that an even 1-for-1.
Somebody has to obviously clear the mid wave, and I like this fact that Dunkel is keeping the wave still outside the tower, so that way when Ballast does make the counter rotation, he'll absorb all this experience, because the level differential is pretty scary. Just now hitting level 4 was Ballast doing a good job farming his Silva.
Wow, Ballast doesn't lose out on too much. It's because Silva's able to, you know, not have to split the wave the way that he did, the way that Ballast had to with Dunkel. As there's more trouble in the duo side, Jules does have some damage coming in from Dunkel, who looks way better on the rat so far, is able to make it away with the extra movement speed. Not quite able to find that kill.
I'm surprised he wasn't backpedaling, actually, while using those cutting blades at the same time to get the damage off, to allow the Shibalanke a little bit more kill potential as best. He's going to use that excavate to clear the wave and try to force some of these minions under the tower. Now, Season 5 changes. You're not going to be able to deny 100% gold income. It's about 75 to 80%, but it's still valuable enough to make that kind of play happen. It's up every 90 seconds, the excavate, and if you could deny, let's say, 80 gold every 90 seconds, it adds up.
Best does have the teleport. He was forced to back. The apple from Silva does not land, and now Dunkel's up in the air. A knock-up in the final judgment. The knock-up doesn't land because of the beads from Silva. They cannot find the kill, even with 2 ultimates committed.
Damage is confirmed, but knock-up disengaged from purification beads. Much harder to find the kill in general. Silva, well, it got frisky there. Surprised that he used that golden apple of Discordia when there was no real kill potential onto Ballast. That could have been used defensively to prevent the Ratatasker knockup as a shorter cooldown as opposed to just using your defensive Purification Bead Relic.
He did it so offensively that instinctively I thought the Rat ulting must have been his Rat.
Yes.
You know, because that's
For
how
a quick
offensive
second.
he went, right? I saw it and I checked him. I know that's Nargs, but like just as an assessment of everything that was happening, I was like, that must be Rat following up. And no. And Silva could have certainly come out of that a little bit cleaner had he held onto the beads and the ultimate and used the ult to get out of the knockup instead. Perhaps not recognizing, though, that Dunko was that close. That ward is on Narg's side, that vision they have around that mid-camp.
Dunko doing a good job invading the enemy blue while they're slapping each other with pillows. Meanwhile, on the backhand side, it was Jules doing his back. Right, Harpy's not able to get there in the nick of time. Both of these teams very evenly matched thus far in game number 2. Can't say the same for game number 1, where No Ping started to really dictate in the team fights.
Diving, though, for best. Spexzilla comes in with the fatal strike. Execute is all they need to be able to take down the Hercules. Silva, though, avoids getting mezzed out and avoids the epic uppercut from Neek. That's huge. Silva, once again, surviving the ganks in the mid lane. Coming up huge for No Ping.
It's a little easier to avoid a lot of this aggression with the Discordia compared to game number 1's Poseidon, but stunned out this time around.
Only has so many lives, does Silva in the mid lane. Eventually, Ballast able to get it done with the evade and punish damage. Just a little bit too much for Silva to try and handle.
That caster's curse, man. Right as I was praising him for avoiding a lot of death and a lot of aggression, he didn't respect the potential play from Ballast that can really transverse about half of the mid lane with that off dash stun.
Does end up coming out being a 1-for-1 trade across the map. Still, though, quite a lot's committed from Nargs to try and find Silva. He does bait out, you know, the epic uppercut, bait out a little bit of positioning from Nargs there in the mid lane without being able to find anything until eventually Ballast grabs the kill. Can we see the player damage as well, though, as it is Silva up there near the top in net worth? So yeah, it's Spexzilla. Okay, so Spexzilla obviously in the solo lane getting a little bit of extra bonus there from that Discordia as well.
Being able to get that is not a bad idea, considering once these rotations happen around level 12, the Achilles that has that no shirt build is going to be swinging even harder, and that's what you're looking for to get somebody in that execute threshold.
Going to make life even a little bit easier for him whenever you have that Discordia on the team just giving out free damage. Jules, though, is in a bad part of town. Everyone from Nargs was here in the jungle. They take Jules down very early. Spexzilla is looking to help find this kill, and Silva cleans it up. Dunkel ends up falling before he can make it up onto the tree. No Ping and the rest of the gang are here a little bit too late. Apple comes out, misses a little bit again, and now they're going to try and chase down Best without the Apple damage.
Oh, in the duo lane, though, you fell. Not able to get away from that airstrike. It's a 2-for-1 at the end of the day. Hold that thought, though, because Best falls, making it actually a 2-for-2 still.
Ballast does get the ultimate off, but it's on Dintola, the tanky Athena. They get nothing out of that. Now Neek is in a little bit of trouble, lands the Strife, and Spexzilla yet again puts him into the passive. Probably going to give the kill over to the solo laner, I'd imagine. They do give it to him. Killing spree for Spexzilla, as now Aqua gets punished by Jules, going for the solo red buff invade.
That was an unofficial deicide from Nargs after Best and Dunkel and Ballast just now revives. Great cleanup from Jules that traded 1-for-1 to start things off with Dunkel around the Pyromancer, and these rotations from the solo laners just slightly more fruitful for Spexzilla.
And this is why I was saying I wasn't disappointed to see Aqua on the Jingwei again. We never got a chance really to see what he could do in game 1 because of how quickly they fell behind. So he went back to it. Clearly something he's comfortable on. Finding the solo kill on Ufel to help sort of kind of keep things close across the map, but then gets a little bit too greedy, goes to the red buff invade, and Jules is right there to punish.
So this level 10 Achilles, with just his Gift of the Gods passive, is getting 30 physical power, 10 base, and then 2 per level. And then the Discordia passive is adding 25 power on top of that, 5 base, and then 2 per level. So an extra 55 power, level 10, to turn a team fight, not too shabby.
I think I'd take that.
Yeah.
I think I would take that and use that and play that. I think it's good.
I think it's good, especially with that you're getting the Gladiator shield for the Achilles. It just fits so thematically.
It just ends up working out perfectly for him. 2-man Strife comes out. Ballast not going to get the setup he needs for the final judgment. Aqua in trouble in the duo lane. Instant pull back in on the chain. Ufel finds the kill with the gank from Jules in duo lane, and the 2v3 survives in the mid lane for the rest of No Ping squad.
You can't use your airstrike like that, you got to make sure you save it for your CC immunity, because you started off with the Aegis. If you don't have the beads, then you got to save it. Not offensively, trying to escape his Spexzilla right on that corner. But meanwhile, in the dual lane, Neek setting up Dunkel.
And that's all Dunkel needs. Finds the kill on the Jules. Yufel, though, going to continue to be aggressive with Defender of Olympus. Dash taunt would almost certainly spell the end here for Neek, but he doesn't have it. Now he has the dash charge, does get the taunt. Dunkel goes in, though, and keeps Yufeli busy from following up. Forces out the beads. Dunkel ends up falling to the auto attacks, but rotating in his Aqua to get the kill.
The hot 180. He realized he was probably dead to the Xingwei anyway, so what does he do? He turns around, he gets the last hit right onto Dunkel to make it at least a 2-for-1 instead of a 2-for-0.
Yeah, and it looks like Balak was able to find Silva in the mid lane as well, who took a spill. Now they're going to continue to chase down Dintola. Can't quite punish him, but Nargs keeping much, much closer here in game 2. That composition, it looks like they really felt like it was just the picks and that quick early start that didn't work for them. They look way better here.
Unfortunately, they can't transition into the Gold Fury. Ballast too low, Neek was too low in the red, and without that final judgment, you're not going to be starting that objective anytime soon. Nice pull into the driving strike. Excavate not available quite yet, but it's coming up momentarily.
Spexzilla, if he still has the stun, if he still has the dash, he's got some abilities to get him away here, and it looks like he does. He actually misses the reset, though, so has to look for the stun and the fatal strike to escape. Best, good job juking.
Not able to find the kill quite yet, but forcing him back on out allows Best to just get more experience under his belt. Just now hitting level 11, whereas Spexzilla has been level 12 for quite some time, picking up the meditation as his second relic slot.
Dash taunt from Dintola. Balisk has had a great game on the Thoth mid lane so far. Epic uppercut from Neek into the root combination, waiting on the knockup to come from Dunkel, but he has the final judgment. Balisk deletes Jules. I thought he stopped charging it, but he brought it right back up in time to find the kill.
That's how you set up your mid-mage with a hot knockup. Unfortunately, starting the blink early at level 1 means you don't have that CC immunity, and without Magai's Cloak this early in the game, because you're going for power options, that combo almost always guaranteed.
Gold Fury now being looked at by Nargs. Dintola and Silva are here. You fell right around the corner to come back him up. Dash goes in, taunt comes out. Dark is a nice drop from Yufel. They have to give up the Gold Fury. Aqua has to use Aegis, but the apple's right there. Spexzilla comes in to get the kill. Neek is low. The evade and punish keeps it from going into the Sleepy Time passive, and I think Neek has made it out of there.
Just barely in the nick of time, and with Dunkel having that much mobility with a speed buff, it's going to be a clean disengage, so a 1-for-0 thus far without the enemy Hunter. You could look for the Gold Fury if you really want. Spexzilla zoning alongside Jules.
They're going to be going in onto Best. They do land the stun. He's brought down to about 25% HP already. Gets healed up at an execute threshold, but Silva just has too much damage. Best ends up falling. And totally, was that in the nick of time? Is that what that was?
Not intentional.
I like it. I'm going to give you credit.
Not intentional if that was the case. Spexzilla, though, under the tier 1 mid tower, allows it to go down. Final judgment being channeled, but it's off the mark. Meditation also used to help Jules survive.
Two-man taunt comes out. Aqua wants to go on aggressive. Balisk does go hunt down Jules. And Aqua comes in with the big time crits to be able to find some extra damage as well on the explosive bolts. Nargs pushing no ping back after they assault the tier 1 tower. Can't find the damage onto Silva, just barely still standing. Dintola has got to fall back too. Oh, Balisk with the dash actually went on the tier 1 mid tower trying to find one instead of Dintola, but a beautiful engagement from Yufel right on the side lane. Going to be able to get a double kill for his trouble, and Balisk dropped the ball on that one. There was a free kill right in front of them. It was Dintola, but he dashes in and tries to find Silva under the tier 1 mid tower, and that's not the play there. That taunt sets up Yufel for the hot cleanup. And I think there was a strife that came out too from Silva. At least he hit something. They definitely had some extra damage, but yes, the taunt control was just too strong for the follow-up there from Yufel and Silva. Great rotation from the Hunter, who's had himself a game, but I mean, we were wondering, can Dintola play just as well on this Terra as he can on the Athena? Well, how does 1-0-10 sound for you for your support there, Toli? Pretty darn good. Is Dunkel in a little bit of trouble here in the jungle? Oh, barely able to avoid lethal. Jules was so close to finding that teleport strike that he needed to. And yeah, this Athena support, 1-0-10, almost a part of every single kill. 11 out of the 15 total, and that's what you really want out of your support, being able to set up the plays, being the right place at the right time. A lot easier to do, obviously, with the global pressure on the Athena, but still,
high praise. But, man, Palace, he likes to dash, man. Whether it's the Medusa in game number 1 or the Thoth in game 2. Makes more sense on the Thoth because of how much range it covers and the play potential. But sometimes you got to just have better target selection.
But look at his build. He's like almost got full, or really he does have the full cooldown between the Mage's Blessing, Chronos Pendant, and the boots, and then the Chronos Pendant passive. So he can afford to dash a little bit aggressively. As Ufel wants to go aggressive onto Aqua. Looks like beads come out, so he wouldn't have to pause even for a moment. Now Dunkel's coming in to trade, but you don't want to trade with the Shibalanke. Those branching bolas are chunking.
Definitely going to be hitting really hard at level 14. Probably sitting at full stacks with that 8,300 player damage pre-mitigation. So you're really looking for those extra 30 physical power. Best trying to get in the thick of things, but it's a bait.
He gets immediately controlled, and then comes in Spexzilla with the Fatal Strike. Execute gets the reset, and now they can start pulling the Gold Fury without having to worry about the Hercules. You can't walk around that corner if you don't have any vision. Not with an Athena on the other side. Into the Strife, into the Unruly Magic, into Spexzilla.
I mean, somebody has to, but the unfortunate thing was the rest of his teammates were just not close enough. Nargs trying to capitalize with that Gold Fury by going the right side of the map, but they staggered a little bit too long to get that cleanly.
Another two-man taunt forces out another set of beads, and another disengage from Nargs. No ping, gonna come grab Pyromancer for themselves. And to talk a little bit about it, Tolly, you're exactly right. It's got to be Best that goes in, and hopefully you're hoping he's tanky enough to get the information and leave, or at least force an overcommit from no ping onto him. The problem is neither was true. He died quickly, and they were able to do it safely.
Very clean pick, and that's what you're really looking for with some of these Athena engagements. Jules gonna blink in, take advantage of the dash. Yet again, that Ballast used meaninglessly.
And that time it was too much there from Ballast. I 100% agree, and Jules correctly goes in and punishes. Final Judgment being charged, never even had a chance to go off. And Silva and Jules still have their ultimates. That's a clean pick, and they're still primed and ready to fight the next time they need to.
It's a squishy level 13 Thoth. No Warlock staff for the health boost, so you're looking at a lot of burst damage from this level 13 Dodgy with the Crusher. That damage over time, even if for whatever reason Ballast was to dash away, if you don't use the Aegis in time, you're gonna not stop the bleeding.
Ufel going to continue to farm it up over here on the duo lane side as we have a moment to fall back and talk a little bit about these builds. Transcendence came out here from Dunkel. It's something we've been seeing a little bit more of because it's just so much power, so much cooldown. I mean, why go with this option over some of the other? I mean, like we see Crushers put in that slot sometimes. We even see like a Heart Seekers or some other movement items. I mean, why the Transcendence here?
Almost a Hydra's Lament would have even been better, but yes, it's the cooldown reduction. And not only that, it's the physical power boost that you're looking to bring to your character while synergizing with Crusher later down the road. A lot of times Crusher is picked up first for a lot of these guys, but the bleed effect, the passive effect from the Crusher synergizes with your physical power. So I think Dunkel is just setting himself up for the Crusher effectiveness later.
It does seem like he values the cooldown, though. Goes with the Jotun's Wrath as opposed to, like you said, maybe the Crusher or even a Brawler is another good pin item, even when there's not a ton of healing, just to try and shut down lifesteal. Spexzilla, though, has to fall back. Dunkel comes in for the Prot Shred, but gives as good as he takes. Spexzilla can't find the stun, trading with Best a little bit more as they fall back. They're all grouped up, but they're not ready to fight just yet. There's no real objective.
Not quite yet, as Gold Fury is still down for another 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Pyromancer was taken almost immediately afterwards. Blue buff getting confirmed from no ping, but that Fire Giant, you don't really want to risk it when it's a 5-on-5 and a Final Judgment that you got to worry about alongside the Through the Cosmos. That's a lot of range to have to worry about. If you don't have the proper vision deep in the heart of the enemy jungle, why play it that risky?
Ballast going into the Soul Reavers is next item. I kind of like it because you go Chronos, Pendant, you go the cooldown boots, you're kind of giving up some power. Well, Soul Reaver kind of makes up for that as Jules is able to catch up to Dunkel and delete the Ratatosker very early on in the fight. Best is looping around the back side, but the collapse could certainly be on push into the boulder. Aegis immune to the damage from Silva, drops the apple, again off the mark. Those have been a little questionable as Neek controls the jungler, who goes right up to the pallet to avoid Final Judgment.
Very important avoidance into the middle of it is Best, but Neek is the one that's in a lot of trouble. He's in the sleepy passive. He's going to get taken out. Aqua in a 1v1 against Spexzilla. He still has that airstrike to disengage, but the rest of No Ping are diving
Dentola is here and he's ready to go aggressive, forces the airstrike to come out. Best is going to go for the push-pull combination, and Ufel has to disengage, but Speckzilla does not. He's happy to continue looking for bloodshed. Tier 2 tower in the mid lane. That's going to be the call as they regroup. Everyone's still alive, but they are low. Dentola taunts, but gets deleted. On the backside comes in Dunkel. He finds Ufel with the Through the Cosmos ultimate. He wants Silva as well.
He wants revenge for that transgression. He gets a double kill onto Speckzilla. Needs to find the triple. He gets the stun off from the Thought player, but a nice little heal from Speckzilla. The slow off the mark. Final Judgment will seal the fate.
Dunkel got a double kill and has 2 kills total, so they really needed him to show up in this game, and he does in a big way with that ultimate Final Judgment. Great coming out from Balisk to help finally put Speckzilla down, and another good fight from Nargs. No ping. We're doing a lot of fighting, and totally I'm not quite sure why. They weren't fighting to clear room for the tier 2. They weren't trying to come back towards gold or Fire Giant. They just kind of took a brawl in the jungle.
They just felt really confident. Once they took out Dunkel, once they took out Neek, all right, they had a 5-on-3 advantage for a little bit, but that tier 2 tower dive, ill-advised with how fast Dunkel was coming back because of how long that team fight lasted.
No one's here for this though, Toli. Fire Giant's down to about 25% HP. Jules now is around, doesn't have the ultimate, can't get to the pit in time, and instead will have to try and look for kills to punish this choice. It's 2v4 at this point. Best not quite here just yet. Up onto the Palau goes Jules, does land the chains onto Ballast, but not looking for the pull. Instead, up in the air is Dunkel. Look for the counter initiation. No ping, unable to punish this aggression.
Final Judgment is connected onto Jules, and unfortunately, even though you connect your dodgy pull onto the Thoth, which is almost a dream, there's no one there to follow up. Speckzilla now trying to look for somebody's Dunkel. Gonna blink away, zoning everyone away from Nargs.
Nargs have done a tremendous job, Toli, though, in this game of responding and bouncing back from a tough Game 1 loss. They get those 3 kills, they immediately go grab Fire Giant, and then they disengage. They they try and see maybe can we catch out Jules by himself. When they realize they can't, they leave. Now they have a chance to sort of even out that gold lead and try and stall out long enough to try and get at least maybe a few towers.
That's got to be the case. There's plenty of towers that Nargs can demolish. You're looking at 3 tier 2s and then additional 2 tier 1s, so about 5,500 gold, but no ping, making that gap even further with their second Gold Fury of the game, now building up a 5,600 gold lead.
You saw it was a good spike down just recently as No Ping did have the lead. Narg started to move into a little bit, but No Ping grabbing that Gold Fury and able to fight back towards the lead they already had. Tier 1 tower in mid does fall down. Not that much gold, not that much map pressure at this point. They really want to start grabbing some tier 2s, but No Ping, even though there's a Fire Giant for Nargs, I mean, they can fight into this.
They're not really deterred. Silva has a lot of control along with Dentola, so you catch the taunt into the Strife, and then all of a sudden that taunt becomes a madness effect with the Discordia. And by you hitting each other for so long, there's plenty of time for the damage follow-up. Ufel is almost at his final form in the Shibalanke. And Silva's Golden Apple of Discordia is going to create just that, a lot of discord.
Tier 2 towers the call. Neek blinks in, gets the mez. Epic uppercut is on to Ufel. Final Judgment comes through, but Ufel still standing. Dunkel goes up for the Through the Cosmos. Last to retreat. Speckzilla goes on the backside, deletes Neek already. Jules able to find Balish. This fight on the tier 2 is already a nightmare if you're a fan of Nargs. They pull in Best. The stun is right there from Speckzilla, and now he's been deleted by Ufel. 3 for 0. No Ping are defending.
Wow, Best just didn't use his Excavate to prevent that pull from happening, and with a 5-on-2 momentum swing, Jules going back in, setting up the Defender of Olympus knockdown.
Dentola takes down Aqua, only the lone rat to stand up against the 5-man squad of No Ping, and I don't know what he can get done all alone without an ultimate. Tier 2 tower on left-hand side is going to come crumbling down. No Ping have no reason not to go for the Phoenix as well.
Trying to make it happen even further. It's only a little Dunkel. Neek reviving, trying to make something on the left side, but this Phoenix is not standing for much longer. The root into all the damage. Neek back into the sleepy passive, and back to the grave he goes.
A little dunk, just one little Dunkel, is that what that was? What was that?
A little Dunkel.
Oh, I like it. Final Judgment comes through. It does hit. Speckzilla going with the lazy back is punished by Dunkel, who's still alive. Can't Rising Jaguar into that, not with Balisk right there. And Dunkel, the little Dunkel that could, able to get away with a kill off of that blink into the lazy backing Speckzilla.
No Ping just defended against the Fire Giant squad and then turned it on its head with a Phoenix Siege guaranteed. Best trying to run into Silva, forcing that golden apple of Discord, but the long-range boulder
Double
forcing
tap?
out the Aegis.
I thought they were going to get the double tap. Doesn't matter, though, as he finds the pull. Silva ends up getting punished. Up into the air goes Dunkel. The evade and punish lands on the Jules, who's trying to find a way to disengage. Dunkel comes in and finds that kill. The rat has been huge for them in these last 5 to 7 minutes. Now it's a 5v2 in Narg's favor as they group around the tier 2.
The cleanup was good, but keep in mind that there needs to be more than just a tier 2 tower. Spexilla reviving soon. In 2 seconds, down the mid lane, Nargs goes. It's 4, because on the right side, Neek is trying to get some farm for himself. But remember, for as long as they keep themselves preoccupied with these tower sieges, there's more and more minions entering the throne room.
They are already there. Someone's got to go back and defend those because they're going to start attacking this Titan.
Is that a fire wave?
Now.
No. But the second one is.
It is going to be a normal wave with a fire wave
That's
right behind
hurt.
it. And no one from Nargs is even positioning like they want to back at this point. They got to do it and defend. Now Aqua's looking for it, but Spexzilla's right here. I don't think he'll let him.
He should have stopped the back. That Titan would have took even more damage with a lot of those fire archers. So good timing for Dunkel to back that Titan, barely taking much damage because the fact that those tier 2 towers still stand alongside those Phoenixes, boosting a lot of health, defenses, and gaining more power.
Fire Giant, though, is respawning as we speak, Tolly. And with Nargs having to give up their really good positioning, No Ping are the ones who can establish themselves around the Fire Giant pit. We're about 25 minutes in, almost 26, and Nargs have clung on for dear life. This gold lead and experience, they are not nearly as bad as they once were. They are on relatively even ground with No Ping and have to defend.
But the thing is, if Nargs try to defend this Fire Giant, they're ending up in a similar situation where their Titan is going to get slowly chipped away. And No Ping recognized this. They're going to back off and wait for those minions just to get closer. And every single time a mini wave spawns on that Phoenix, then both of No Ping's waves just get closer together.
And No Ping have no reason to try and force this fight. If Nargs try and start up Fire Giant, they'll come in and disengage. But other than that, they just want to keep him here. That's why Neek blinks in, and he's made the target. Silva Aqua deletes him very early on here in the match. Up is Dunkel on the through the Cosmos. He's looking for someone to land. He does find the knockup onto Ufel, but Aegis keeps him alive. Ballast falls on the backside to Jules' pressure.
The driving strike doing a lot of damage to Ufel. He finally going down. It's a 2-for-1 at the end of the day, but it's Dunkel very low that gets cleaned up by Jules trying to escape. And look at this Titan. That's the second fire wave inside the throne room.
Jules is still standing, but he's really the only carry that's still alive. Nargs don't have room to back. They're surrounded on all sides. Finally, Best is able to make it back to defend the Titan, so now it's a 3v2, and Aqua gets caught out by Jules. He's killed all 3 members of Nargs this fight that have fallen, and now Neek is the next one in his sights. Dash comes in. They're trying to lock down this Kumbhakarna. Jules has all 4 members' blood on his hands. Neek is going to take another seat as the Titan's at half HP.
That was really cute, honestly, what you did.
It was an accident.
Too. Yeah. It's just happy
it's
little
a great
accident.
Name.
Happy little accidents throughout
so
the cast of this one. 29-19, No Ping able to really control the little things that matter in this game, whether it's the Gold Furies, whether it's the Phoenixes. They're the ones that are getting on the board where it really matters. That Titan took a lot of damage during that scuffle. Pyromancer going to get knocked down. Fire Giant is easily contestable with Neek still dead, Aqua still dead. You do have to worry about the final judgment from Ballast. Oh, he's just out of range. What?
That is so frustrating if you're Ballast. That was perfect. It was just a hair out of range. I barely believe it.
Oh my goodness, that should have been a kill between the stun and even just 2 of those hits from the hieroglyphic assault. Up in the sky goes Dunkel, looking on somebody to land as Silva gets the defender of Olympus, forcing Dunkel back.
Dentola might have been using that either way. It's really the ultimate from Dunkel. That's a bit of a loss here for Nargs. They've really been relying on his knockups when those fights go well. Fire Giant is being looked at, though, by No Ping. And Nargs are not in position to defend this one. Dentola's on zoning duty, and No Ping grabbed the Fire Giant for free. And Dentola's not done yet. He's dashing into Neek. They're going to try and make this Kumbhakarna the target. Spexzilla dashing aggressively. Can't find the stun, but the taunt does come out, and all the damage is there to follow up. He ends up going to sleep. Jules with yet another kill in the jungle on the Dodgy.
And without the Kumbhakarna blink, how are you going to be able to engage in this team fight, or even peel for that matter? Best in the front line, looking for the pull, not on the mark. The strike now onto this Hercules. That execute from the fatal strike. Spexzilla cleans up that one while Jules cleans up Ballast It's going to be a 5-on-2.
Surrender vote comes out, but that might be too little too late. Dunkel falls to the pressure from Jules. A double kill for the jungler for no ping. Phoenix on the right-hand side tumbles down, and with only one tier 2 tower, 2 Phoenixes standing, and a lone pool party Aqua standing, it's just not going to be enough. Taunted back in. Spexzilla has the damage. They force him to airstrike away, but the Titan under siege, and no ping. Take game 2. They take the set over Nargs.
Very clean performance. 2-0. 29.5 minutes worth of play here, extending their set victories now 2-1.
I'm starting to wonder if Aqua's playing pool party Jingwei as like a thing with his name.
Oh.
Maybe that's what it is.
Only
right?
water types.
Yeah, normally Jingwei isn't, right?
Yeah.
But then he plays pool party, so she is, and it counts.
It's true. So gotta play Kuzenbo in the ADC role too, right? Because of the little jug on the head.
Respect all Kuzenbos.
Please no.
No Ping, though, are able to find that set victory, and you said the word there, totally clean. That's how No Ping looked for me in both games. I give a lot of credit to Jules in the jungle role, just creating so much pressure for them. Dintola continues to play lights out as well.
Unfortunately for Nargs, they're not able to find a victory here, so they fall even further behind in the standings. Meanwhile, though, No Ping doing a great job extending their leads, trying to catch up to Black Dragons. It's going to be very important for them to win their set against Black Dragons in the last final week 6 because they fought against each other in week 1.
Boy, it's so close, isn't it? No Ping are right there neck and neck, nipping at the heels of Black Dragons, man. Can you imagine having someone that strong right there behind you at every step of the way? But Black Dragons have been repeatedly playing against the squad, getting better. The whole region is improving. I'm sure we'll start to see even better things from Nargs as well.
Definitely could be a lot of action here as we progress throughout the Global Series, but that's not it for us today.
That's right. We've got the SML coming for you in about 5 minutes. We're going to take a real quick break, and then we're going to be right back. It's Optimus Gang going up against Fear No Evil, and that'll be next. Thank you for joining us here at the SMITE Minor League. Finch, I've got Anatoly Alexeyev with me as well as we head into Optimus Gang up against Fear No Evil. And if you were with us earlier, then you just saw the Global Series, saw a great set there as well. So we're going to keep that action rolling for you right here into the Minor League.
And in the Minor League, we have a lot of action between not only North America or Europe, but just throughout the week. And we get a chance to see these teams now, but they also played earlier on.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the matchups that we already had, matchups you can expect to see throughout the rest of the week as well. You can see some of the ones that are happening off screen, but on stream we're going to have Optimus Gang versus Fear No Evil today. I'm also very much looking forward to Voltic versus Space Station Gold. Voltic have really come into their own here in the summer split, and I want to see if Space Station Gold can challenge them. So those are going to be the sets that we're broadcasting, and some of the important what's happening off screen up there too you can take a look at. Well,
that set specifically is on Friday, but for today we're between Optimus Gang and Fear No Evil.
Yes.
So far, Fear No Evil, they lost earlier this week to Insignum, 0-2, unfortunate thing, but Insignum a very good European team.
Yeah, no shame in losing to Insignum. Right.
And then Optimus Gang finding the 2-0 victory over Victoria's Secret, just giving them a little bit of a boost in the standings.
Yeah, let's actually take a look at where everyone's already placed at here. We got those up on the screen. Insignum 5-0, no big surprise. I mean, they were the dominant team in Europe last split, and they're doing even better this time. I think they lost one set last set. If you want to call that slipping a little bit, I certainly wouldn't, but doing even better here. Optimus Gang, though, right there behind them, 3-1. And totally, I mean, are you surprised at all? This Optimus Gang squad has a ton of experience.
That's true. They played in the SPL in the last time under a different brand.
That's true.
And between Sibby, Johnny, Fairy Crick, Fusify, Painify, these are your 5 members that have been playing together for just so long.
Yeah.
So expanding their experience together inside the SMITE Minor League, they need to find their way back into the Masters land to get ready for HRX.
That's right. They got to make sure they're there towards the end of the season. That's everyone's playing towards. And, of course, they want to be that minor league team that makes it to the LAN tournaments at the end of each split as well. Last time, it was Insignum, but I'm sure Optimus Gang would like to be there, too. In fact, let's go ahead and get those picks and bans on the screen. We are ready to see exactly what gets prioritized between these two squads. And we talked about how Optimus Gang have a ton of experience. Well, so does Fear No Evil, to be fair to them. I mean, they've got Moex in the Hunter role. They've got Flurry Z in the solo for them as well. They've got some names that you certainly recognize on the squad.
That's very true. They just need to find their side lane footings between the solo and Hunter side. Is that enough experience to, dethrone Optimus Gang in this matchup? Only time will tell, and we'll see how the picks and bans unfold.
Well, so far they're unfolding rather traditionally. The Guan Yu band coming out from Fear No Evil is one that you definitely expect. Ratatosker, though, getting a lot of respect from Optimus Gang. They're going to ban it out from the jungle. They don't want to see glory on that one. He plays really aggressively in the jungle, so a global pressure from him certainly fits along with his playstyle.
The first pick going to Fear No Evil, yes, it makes sense as to why you banned the Ratatasker, but also banning away the Giannis. A lot of global pressure being taken away. Athena still remains open. Terra has started to fall in the standings because of some of these other Guardians. And Athena, not a bad selection in terms of not just the global pressure, but the control.
Yeah, Athena can be very, very strong for your squad. Those taunts eventually get to a point where there's just no way to deal with them, as Optimus Gang are going to pick the Agni for themselves. Going to let that one ride in the mid lane. And this is kind of high up. I mean, Agni is one of the stronger mages. I would say certainly one of the strongest mid laners, but still getting picked ahead of some other really strong stuff. Achilles still on the table. I mean, there's some good picks still out there.
The thing is, the Athena taunt can set up 2 Agni bombs at the bare minimum. And if Agni decides to throw in a stun in between that, you're looking at 3 guaranteed bombs. So maybe it's just to shut down Lucas in the mid lane from Fear No Evil. Maybe it's to get their own kind of burst damage online.
They do have the Xbalanque to go along with that. Perhaps the strongest hunter right now, certainly with one of the best team fighting ultimates you could ask for, so they grabbed that one to Optimus Gang. Meanwhile, looks like Fear No Evil are going to go with the Artemis and the Cerberus. Artemis capable of matching Xbalanque's late game damage, and Cerberus a huge team fighting presence in his own right.
Between the taunts and then you got the knockup from Cerberus, this Stygian Torment is going to be annoying to say the least from Optimus Gang, and you might think as to maybe getting a cleanse potentially on the board, of potentially a Hell, potentially even a Chiron, if that's the case. If Optimus Gang have been preparing it for a moment, it was such crowd control, now is the time to bring it out.
Or maybe even just prioritize early Magai's cloaks. There's definitely some options. And these Guardians might be doing a little more damage than you'd expect, because Cerberus, the Ghastly Breath, so good at shredding those protections. And Athena and Cerberus, they are not short on damage.
It's very true. If you confirm that double hit from the shield wall, those health bars are going to get depleted very quickly.
Well, Optimus Gang are going to take a mid laner in Discordia off the board, along with the Cirquette. They don't want That's another actually eye towards the jungle. They've bet both their bans on jungle and mid so far to try and take some of those priority picks away.
Locking in the Cucullin for the solo lane. Optimus Gang. Sibby looking to be aggressive in his own right compared to Floors. Looking for the opportunity. Now it's up to the jungler. Potentially, I don't think it's going to be a flex pick, Cucullin. I was just kind of curious to see what the direction is going to be. But
sure.
Fear No Evil, a good solid 3 picks, adding a Raijin magical damage on top of it. The late game power with the Artemis, as long as they can control this early to mid game with a Thor on top. I like the global pressure. I like the setup.
Thank goodness. I was worried they were going to get an Unbots there, totally.
Oh, no.
And I was going to have to do Fear No Evil on Fear No Evil. So they go with the Thor, not only a great jungler, but then we don't have to worry about that extra layer. But the Thor combo, I mean, a dunk into Taiko drums from Raijin, I mean, you're probably not going to get a chance to push any buttons. Has too much damage and too much control.
Wow, it's Ao Kwang, last pick from Optimus Gang. Now, Johnny has run aggressive gods like this, and there's a lot of hyper carry potential from the jungle role. It's something that he really thrives on. His most go-to god is actually the Willish, but either way, if Optimus Gang can get off to a great start, then that late game Artemis shouldn't even be an issue because Ao Kwang will take over.
Yeah, plus I love it. If it is going to be Cucullin solo and then the Ao Kwang jungle, that's the physical, magical jungle solo, makes it a little bit harder to build protections against both. But now that you've seen both giraffes here on the board, which one are you leaning towards, Toli?
I like Optimus Gang. Not even Ao Kwang considered. Just Sobek and Agony combined is really annoying.
It's a lot of control, but it sounds like our casters are standing by. Go ahead and take us into the action.
Thank you very much, Finch and Toli. Aggro joined by Taco here as we check out Fear No Evil versus Optimus Gang. And two teams that everyone's looking up in Europe. It's not just these two that are looking up to Insignum. But we saw Fear No Evil last week, and I think that this is a team that has a lot of potential on it.
I mean, we saw them take their set over Burrito, and I think that those are two teams that were considered to be relatively close in terms of like their current standings. But Fear No Evil just slightly nudging themselves above the rest, getting closer and closer, I think, towards Insignum.
Well, Optimus Gang is a team that has a lot of SPL level experience. You heard him talking about Johnny on the desk as we're getting ready to go in game here for game number 1. So this will be a great test for Fear No Evil and see just how good they are right now as a grouping by Fear No Evil as they push forward, looking for a little bit of a pick in the enemy jungle, but Optimus Gang a little too seasoned for that to happen to them. Johnny back on this Ao Kwang. I mean, this is the guy who often carries games for Optimus Gang. He's the flashy playmaker, and Ao Kwang can make flashy plays. There's no doubt about that. It's just we haven't seen a lot of Ao Kwang recently. Do you think this is the right opportunity to bring him out?
There is some possibility for the Ao Kwang to pop off here in this match. I think that I'm mostly looking towards the fact that the solo lane is typically left alone. I think in these sort of circumstances, it could usually pose a threat towards Flores. He's going to really have to keep in mind that there is an Ao Kwang on the map. Most of the time you see Ao Kwangs getting their passive stacked up and finding the picks over in solo initially because they typically buy the teleport over beats.
Oh, Caspadify in trouble. Sprint popped on both sides of the duo lane because Moax got that big 100 damage crit onto the enemy X-Ball. Now it is Cucullin support, and I think that's why Optimus Gang thought they could be aggressive here, but Moax and T850 is showing them that is not the case. Caspadify very, very low. Uses beads, and it still won't save his life. T8 with that first blood. Boxing against Artemis in the early game, usually not your best idea.
Usually not, and the crit RNG, like we just saw, will immediately send you running. Caspadify also not really certain what that pathing was towards the purple buff by the time they decided to commit for the jungle clear over the wave because they knew they were too poked out and would probably just get zoned. It was just way too open. Way too
late as well, so already off to a great start here for Fear No Evil. Ferricrik is on red buff, but doesn't seem particularly interested in coming over to help out on this purple, which I believe got stolen away there by Fusify. Nice little shot with the spear, but already you do not want to fall in a hole with Cucullin support in the early game, and that certainly happened thus far to Optimus Gang.
It's already been a pretty rough start for this duo lane. I'm not sure if Johnny's going to be able to make his way over either anytime soon because as an AO, you're mostly waiting until you hit that level 5 period. You can do some decent damage, but in terms of matching up against a Thor and a Raijin, that's a pretty steep hill to climb.
It is. A lot of consistent damage coming out of both those characters, which is something that Ao Kwang really struggles with. I'm looking at the Raiju in particular from Lucas because that will reveal Johnny after a certain couple points into it, so that water illusion won't be nearly as effective Faircreek is on the left side jungle again, but again, seems more interested in his own farm than necessarily going to help out on that duo lane side. I don't expect a whole lot of fireworks out of this solo lane here, Taco. Guardian v Guardian, this is going to be a patient game, to say the least.
Sobek versus Cerberus, not really a whole lot of kill potential either way unless one gets pulled into the other's tower, but most of the time you can just expect them to farm it up safely. It's really the Cerberus who's got to be more concerned though than Sibby, because you've got Flores, and like I was mentioning earlier, Johnny on the AO has an opportunity possibly to work his way over there and try to see if he can make some early poke happen and maybe alleviate some of that dual lane pressure.
I think that's really critical, that side lanes have to be very cognizant of when there's an Ao Kuang in the game, and when you're used to playing against AO every game, it's not that bad. You know, okay, I'm probably going to get camped here. They're going to try and execute me on cooldown. But when you haven't played against it for a while, it's sometimes harder to remember those sorts of situations, and I think it's important that, in particular, the two Guardians, because Ao in the early game is always going to go for those characters without any sort of purification beads, so T8 and Flurries have to be very careful about where Johnny is at any given time. And
Johnny might be level 5 right now, but I'm still very concerned for this AO pick, because looking at the entirety of Fear No Evil's draft, and there is a decent way to interrupt or deter him from trying to pursue. I think that picking Moex as the match progresses could also prove to be a pretty difficult task, simply because Artemis has so much of a turn and burn feature.
That Caledonian board does that very, very well. As soon as Moex is under fire at a close range, you press 4 and Tusky will stun him off of you. If Johnny goes for pre-beads, that kind of stuff, there are definitely ways around it, but it's going to cost him a relic pretty much every time, and that's not necessarily something you want in the early to mid game. In the late game could be worth it, but we'll have to wait and see on that front. Why do you think Optimus Gang elected to go for Cucullin in the support role instead of putting him in solo here?
They were probably hoping to just match some of the pressure from an Athena Artemis, and a warrior is usually ideal. I mean, Cucullin, you had that early transformation, could have been a solid first blood opportunity, but it was just the way that Caspanify pushed up in the wave, trying to take up that boxing match. He was looking for the poke with the branching bola, because you do get a little bit of physical power there, but it just wasn't worth it trying to work on the passive or even just look for poke potential, because Moex and TA are probably going to win that trade 9 times out of 10.
Might not be the first ones to hit level 5, though. Once they clear purple, they'll probably get their XP advantage back. Caspanify back sitting at level 4, whereas Moex and T8 just dinged over themselves after clearing that mid wave. Johnny out farming Glory so far on this Ao Kuang, and that's a huge part of playing AO at this level, is being able to out-farm your opponents consistently. Can't be you're going to stay close to even. You have to use that low pressure as a way to just kind of get around the map and focus on your farm instead of trying to gank, and Johnny's done a good job of that thus far.
As wary as others have to be of an Ao Kuang, the AO has to be just as aware of what's happening on the map, and Johnny already spotting out that Glora was trying to make the rotation also into solo, but that's the kind of camp that or at least that I'm expecting to see more often, at least during the earlier stages, because there isn't much kill potential in the other lanes.
Faircreek walled off. Glory gonna go in aggressively, but he immediately takes his entire health bar. Beads weren't enough. Faircreek gets Optimus Gang's first kill.
Bottle it up and sell it.
Yeah.
Every time.
That's that did not go well for Glory. That's for sure. Hammer was down. He tried to steal away Johnny's XP camp on the right side jungle. Johnny pinged him, and Faircreek knew exactly what was going on. You don't want to fight a Bancroft's Talon Rush Agni in the early game. That is a ton of damage coming out of the mid lane for OG.
It's kind of just an explosion of burst damage that Lucas couldn't provide any assistance towards Gloria for. He was just a little bit too far up, and now Flores getting the Athena ultimate that Defender of Olympus is going to deter for a moment, but Johnny's still looking to go back in.
Flurry should be safe, though. T8, probably the one in a little bit more danger despite having extra health, because he's only level 5 in comparison to the level 8 Cerberus. Glory's here and does have that ultimate available, but seems more worried about stealing away Johnny's farm, which I think is the right call in this spot. May even be able to go get the speed buff here. Fusify all the way on enemy back camps. He uses his war cry to get himself out of the stun from the boar and then sprints away, able to steal him away fairly easily.
It's pretty useful, too. Having Fusify with the ability to freely invade. If it's just MoX by himself, they probably saw T8 making the rotation over to solo, and as a result, you just look for whatever farm you can. It's the same reason why we saw Glora going for Johnny's back piece.
Yep, you got to steal away where you can in this sort of map. MoX's ultimate being down, certainly very useful. I'd say that's worth trading Fusify Sprint for. That Artemis ult, so critical. Glory looking to wall off Ferrocrick, but Ferrocrick playing it nice and patient, not too worried about where his escape path is going to go. T8 takes a good chunk of damage from one bomb. Johnny was likely looking for an execute there, knowing T8 didn't have any CC immunity available with that ultimate being down, but just too healthy for that combo to work.
Sibby does need to be careful here. Use that lurking in the waters right in front of Flores, so if he gets too close to that T1 in solo, could potentially end up getting pulled back in from a Stingent Torment.
You know, that's probably what Glory's going to be looking for, ganking that right side now, but he's going to have to use that ultimate defensively because Johnny's already doing some solid damage. Glory is going to land. He didn't see Ferrocrick there. Stun, dash, dead. Ferrocrick with another kill onto Glory. That's 2 for him onto the jungler. And that I love that Ferrocrick just kind of hides in that spot. I don't think he saw him. I don't think Glory had any idea that Ferrocrick was there.
I feel like that was visible, though. Maybe it was just a quick scan of the area, but either way, now Glora has left Lucas all by himself in the mid lane. Easy poke potential for Ferrocrick. I mean, Lucas having to back to base, and if he's not careful, this could potentially be Johnny wrapping around him. No, instead, he will manage to make it out. Johnny's still lurking, though, in Glora's jungle and could potentially cut him off as soon as he makes it back into lane.
This farm for the Ao Kuang has just been huge. In the early game, you're looking for the execute, stack your passive, and that's great. But I think it's better to just make sure you're getting your camps consistently. Just get your consistent farm. The executes will be there eventually. It's better to just get towards the late game stage. The items are more important anyways. Fusify gonna knock up one, and he's in some trouble because of the Tycho drums. Lucas misses the last few, but MoX's Boar will secure that kill for Lucas. So it ends up still working out for Fear No Evil.
Fear No Evil on the board, but I'm already a little bit concerned for this team composition because the execution has felt a bit awkward.
Yes.
Especially for Glora. I'm not sold on this Thor pick right now from seeing his current display, and I'm not certain that he's going to be able to make this transition work from the early into the mid game.
It feels like Fear No Evil really needed the sword pick to do much better than it has so far. Darkest of Nights used by Caspadify. Johnny's lurking on this side, but doesn't get a whole lot out of that gank, so just an ultimate kind of for nothing thus far. But look at Ferrocrick. He's lurking around the back, stuns out Lucas. First bomb hits, second bomb does not. Third bomb off the mark as well. Johnny once more lurking, trying to find Lucas before that back goes off, but he can't do so. Lucas able to return to base nice and easily.
Look at that damage, though, onto Glora. Already at 50% health. Johnny, though, going to get cut off, and he will be spotted out from that invisibility. T8 still trying to go in, but the burst support from Barracrick's going to be too much. That's going to be the first execute.
Johnny very happy with how that worked out. Now gets a free red buff invade off of it as well. T8 goes forward, thinking Glory was going to follow up, but Glory had already used the whole kit. No reason to chase that, especially with Ferrocrick there in the wings, waiting to help Johnny out. Just too aggressive there from the Athena, as Lucas once more forced to jump defensively.
Fear No Evil almost feel like entirely different to what we saw when they played against Burrito.
Yeah, they do, don't they? They looked so good last week, and I was really impressed with them. I think that Lucas had a really, really solid game. A couple of those games, Glory is the one who I think I was the most impressed with out of everyone on Fear No Evil. And in this game, he has struggled thus far as MoX gets ulted there by Fusify, but not a lot of danger coming from it. Danger, though, for Lucas in the mid lane, who tries to Thunder Crash a couple times, but Lightning never even struck once. In that instance, he falls to the damage from Ferrocrick and Johnny.
Even with Glora's rotation into mid, I think he should be more concerned about what Ferrocrick decides to do over looking for poke himself. Fusify maybe trying to steal away these back harpies yet again on the duo side, and T8 doesn't seem to have spotted him.
I don't know what took Fusify so long to decide he wanted this backhand. Maybe he didn't want to transform right here and try and save that transformation until later. Either way, he does strip away those back harpies once more, and that's been a huge deal because now Glory's going to come over, realize they're gone, and he continues to fall farther and farther behind Johnny in the farm, as now he'll meet up with the Cucullin in the jungle. Wall will prevent Fusify from getting away for the moment, but he still is able to dash out of that taunt. The boar goes real deep to chase him down, and Anvil of Dawn cuts off the escape, but Moex's trap had already done the work. Fear No Evil punish the over-aggressive Cucullin once more.
Fusify, the only one who's really been getting picked off here, and so all of the differences that are happening have occurred in duo, yet the duo lane isn't that far behind, if behind at all. Fusify, by securing those back harpies, is making sure that he's maintaining the same experience levels as T850, so there's just no real concern on the side of Optimus Gang, and their ability to aggress more than one lane at once is what's really killing Fear No Evil right now.
It's certainly causing some struggles for them. Caspanify knows Glory's here, so won't push up whatsoever. Sibby already level 13 and working his way towards mid.
But Glory's gonna back. And the whole while, Johnny's just been steadily farming away, sitting at level 13, probably going to be ticking into 14 soon. And there's only so far behind that you can fall as a Thor before you start to feel incredibly irrelevant in this sort of match.
At least he does have a couple stuns in the kit. Those don't matter what level you are, really. I mean, you need the ranks to get it to be as good as possible. Johnny, look at that damage, a double kill in mid, and this is where Optimus Gang has just made their hay all game long. That was incredible burst from Ferricrick and Johnny. You can tell these guys are very comfortable with these selections, really understanding just how much damage they have available to them.
Didn't even hesitate for a moment. The second that Johnny goes in, you've got Ferricrick trying to back him up, and that's kind of been the storyline all game long. It's either Ferricrick backing up Johnny or Johnny backing up Ferricrick, and the way that these two play off of each other is only adding to the frustration factors that Fear No Evil are probably experiencing.
This is definitely the matchup to watch, is mid-jungle now for Optimus Gang, because Ferricrick and Johnny have just been dominant thus far. 6-0 between the two of them. They've each been a part of every single kill. Every single kill has had these guys only involved. It's not just that they've been involved themselves, but no one else has an assist except for Caspanify, and I believe that was from Darkest of Nights. He wasn't even there to help out. So all the action has been in the mid lane thus far for Optimus Gang.
I'm almost surprised that we haven't seen the Darkest Night come out more often from Caspanify. I feel as though he could be boosting his own XP lead or keeping up a little bit better with Moex, but maybe not as concerned, considering that the kills are happening pretty quickly.
I mean, it seems like that Optimus Gang has it under control, right? You can save that Darkest of Nights for when Glory's looking for an ultimate or something like that, when someone's in a bit of trouble. Ferricrick is in a little bit of trouble, but still had the dash. Flores has made the rotation all the way over here, but Johnny is ready and willing to fight this one. T8 dashes away, sprint used as the chase continues, but Johnny now CC chain, no beads for him. Still half HP. Moex coming around the back. Water Illusion is good to get Johnny out of range of that boar. And Optimus Gang now on the retreat.
And Fear No Evil have to find something out of this. They've expended so much already. Farker going to use the egg, has managed to get alive for now, but Flores in a whole lot of trouble getting aggressed on by Fusify, and Sibby lurking in the waters. It's going to take him out.
Lucas finally able to notch one for Fear No Evil. It's Fusify though. Johnny will fall. Double kill. That's a triple for Lucas in the mid lane. Sibby is very low, and Moex will find one for himself. Lucas gets 3 quick kills in the mid lane for Fear No Evil, and Optimus Gang's lead, just like that, now in some serious jeopardy.
That's the first time that we've seen Fear No Evil effectively punish Optimus's gang over aggression. Johnny just going in a little bit too deep, prompted by the sprint from his backup, and they were all looking for follow-up and being so focused on taking out T8, I think, that they ended up losing sight of everyone collapsing around them.
Yeah, but Fear No Evil gets 4 for 2 and
no gold.
Doesn't do anything with it. I mean, not just no gold, no tower, no camps, not even their own in response. Now they're heading towards the Gold Fury, but everyone, and I mean everyone, is now alive on Optimus Gang, and so Fear No Evil realize that and don't even go for that. That fight's great and all. Getting triples feels real good, but it doesn't actually do that much for Fear No Evil to stem the bleeding.
Buff invades as opposed to Fear No Evil clearing out their own jungle, I think could have gone a long way for them. They were already pushed up halfway in that mid lane. All the buffs had just respawned for Optimus Gang, so it would have been a prime opportunity, but I just don't think Fear No Evil felt comfortable knowing that Farcrick had managed to survive through everything. And Lucas gonna have to use beads and that Aegis as well as the defender of Olympus.
Wow, that is a lot that Farrakhrek just got from Lucas. Glory is in the sky, but he's far too far away to land on anyone, as now it's Optimus Gang going towards the Gold Fury because they know Lucas is low and back to base with no relics. Farrakhrek has to use the beads. That means he's now relicless in this engagement, but look at Johnny lurking, and Flurry's going to jump right into him. Glory uses the beads, and so does Johnny, as he wants to continue this chase, try and find another execute. He's only found one so far in this game, but look at this rotation in from Sibby underneath everybody. Taunt actually catches the dash as Lucas get a full commit onto this. Tycho drums coming through. That finds one. Lucas eats a bomb stun for his worth, but that's it. Sibby gets out of danger.
Sibby just a little overconfident there, charging in like that. He knew all 5 members of Fear No Evil were grouped up in that spot, and he still tries to casually walk on by as though nothing in the world is wrong.
Well, Sibby survived. It just baited his support. And this is a Gold Fury that Fear No Evil probably doesn't feel particularly good about giving up, but they had already expended so many resources. Could they really have defended that with how healthy everyone else on Optimus Gang really was?
Not with Johnny being as healthy as he was, because Johnny fortunately got cut off by the Tusky from Artemis, and I don't even think Moix was expecting him to be behind them. Moix had just dropped that ultimate, hoping that it would attach to Sibby, and instead he winds up with a Johnny stun out who's lurking around the corner in his invis.
Sometimes the best of intentions are actually, it ends up being better than you thought. And there it did for Mox for sure. Winged Blade pointed out onto Johnny here. Not a ton of slows on Fear No Evil, but it is just cheap HP and movement speed. And I think that the rest of the stats are just kind of a bonus for him. I think that's what he really what he was looking for.
I like the slow, the ability to proc off the slow, because Artemis is suppressed the insolent could be problematic in terms of allowing just the slightest room for escape, and even T8 has a form of slow, but I think that's mostly for Lucas.
Lucas certainly with that Raiju, very, very strong slow overall, so he has not been able to impact these fights as much as he would like because Farrakhrek has had his eyes set on him all game long. Now, Lucas did get that triple in the mid, but that's because Farrakhrek was already forced out of the fight. Farrakhrek sitting at 4 completed items. He didn't start with a blessing, neither did Lucas. Both rushed their items very, very early on. Divine Ruin for Lucas. You can tell this is European SMITE Minor League because there's a Divine Ruin where it doesn't make that much sense to be a Divine Ruin. I mean, I guess you do have 2 Bancroft's Talons on Johnny and Farrakhrek apiece. Glory's Magi's Cloak gets procced for trying to double tap Farrakhrek. I don't know. I understand there's a lot of Bancroft's Talons. I don't think you need Divine that early on. If that's like a Spear of the Magus,
it feels
Lucas
like
is
an
doing
AO
true
specific
damage.
buy. You're concerned about Johnny because Johnny had a phenomenal start. He's been heavily influencing a lot of the aggression that's been happening for Optimus Gang. Speaking of which, T8 getting a nice taunt there onto Sibby or Fusify, and now Fusify trying to get away.
Lucas uses the Aegis and now going up into the Tycho drums, but he can't find Fusify. Darkest of Nights ruins the Tycho drums, and now the full commit is on. Farrakhrek brings down his mid lane opponent once more, and Sibby blinks forward, finds the pluck onto T8. Flurry's going to join the engagement, but Johnny won't be deterred. He finds the execute onto T8 nice and easy, as now Glory gets crushed by the damage from, once again, Farrakhrek, and from Johnny. It's a 3-for-1 for Optimus Gang.
The zoning control the Optimus Gang have had this entire match has just been unreal. Sibby taking up this T2 tower now, and Moix alongside of Fleur is trying to do whatever he can, but he's just losing way too much health off of these Omni Bombs. Going to be forced back into the Phoenix, and this could very well be a Fire Giant opportunity for Optimus Gang.
Man, Farrakhrek just looks incredible this game, doesn't he? I mean, 4-0 and 6, way on top of the player damage charts. It isn't close. And that's, we don't have a stat that tells you how many relics he's forced this game, how many times he's forced Lucas back to base before Lucas wanted to go back to base. I mean, Farrakhrek has done so much for OG.
And I don't think that it's an issue of an Agni simply dealing more damage than a Raijin, because if I had to take that bet, it'd be a pretty close matchup. Yep. They both deal a lot of burst. The main difference has been Farrakhrek opted for the Bancroft's Rush, and just like Hispanify is trying to stay alive right now, going straight into the auto attacks against Moix.
Wow, Moix finds the kill. Fusify does answer back, but where are the body blocks there, Taco? That's the support's job in that spot. Hispanify lost his whole health bar before Fusify tried to get in between the Hunters I don't know. It seems a little weird to me.
It was the Athena taunt that prevented him from being able to immediately jump in front. I think
mean,
it
like
just
when
pulled him side to side.
when Athena's channeling the ultimate, Moex is just like going in. I mean, he did get stunned by the Caledonian Boar, but they were in a weird spot. Lucas, that speaking of weird spots, that one actually has a sign. You might not be able to see it. It's kind of hidden there. It says, "Don't back here." You're not allowed because Ferrokrik was waiting. If you've heard the term lazy back before, but weren't exactly sure what that meant, that was a lazy back, where if you just walked back a little bit further, walked back to your side of the map, probably don't die. There, Lucas decides he wants to stick the B button and gets punished for it.
It was pretty out in the open, too.
Yeah, it was not hidden.
That's the big thing.
Well, Raijin is not a quiet backer. Like, he starts drumming. You know, you could put him away for a second, dude. Come on.
A lot of people don't really realize, though, those small little technical noises that can play a heavy part in being able to judge where someone might be at. Ferrokrik might have also been able to spot out the actual backing light.
Right, the little golden glow. For sure. I mean, backing in general is a pretty loud sound cue, but not all backs do sound the same.
No defense.
No defense on Gold Fury. Spanify will solo that down by himself, but Ultimate's in the mid lane. Ferrokrik has to use the beads to get away from Flory. The Glory is going to come right on down, and Ferrokrik never gets a chance to do anything else. Nice shutdown bonus there for Flurry. He's now Fusify's too far forward, trapped down by Moex. Optimus Gang get the Gold Fury, but zoning by tier 2s is probably a little bit too far, and Optimus Gang get punished pretty heavily for it. But again, what is Fear No Evil actually going to get off of this? The last time they got a nice team fight for themselves, they didn't get a single objective. Now they're looking for the tier 1.
Tier 1's a star, but Moex is going to be the finisher. Nice! Trap going to be able to catch out Johnny and stop that aggression, but he still ends up falling because of Civi on the backside. Luke is going to make sure to take out Johnny, though, in the end, and Gaspanify just chunking away at T8.
There's still a good fight for Fear No Evil. T8 gets plucked back, but Gaspanify is walled off. Beautiful shot there by Glory, and Lucas able to find the final blow. Chasing Cibi here is definitely not what Fear No Evil want to do. It's tough to go to Fire Giant without a Hunter at this point, but do something.
The tower. They just need to go straight for the towers before Ferrokrik has a chance to come back into the lane. That's been the primary issue. I like what Glory's doing, trying to spread the map a little bit thinner, but it's still a 3v4 situation. Could potentially be a 3v3, though, if Flores ends up getting picked.
Defender of Olympus will ensure that that does not happen. At least Fear No Evil did get a tier 1 in right.
But a T1 tower for pretty much a full team deicide at a certain point. It was unofficial, but
killed 4 overall, yeah.
They did manage to take out almost everyone in Optimus Gang, and there's no reason. It was really just the loss of Moex. I shouldn't say no reason, because obviously you don't really want to go for the Fire Giant. It would take them way too long, I think, without the Hunter, but they should have at least confirmed that mid tower. Yeah,
that's Moex kind of running away from his team instead of into the thick of them. I mean, Assassins excel at bringing down lone hunters and lone mages, even though they're lone assassins at times. When you stick in the middle of 4 people, it can be difficult for Assassins to find the right shot. No, there were other people coming, so maybe that is the wrong call. Fusify knocked up after the taunt, but he still got his ultimate available. Moex on the run. This Darkest of Nights has been very difficult to deal with, but Ferrokrik on the backside is getting bursted. He barely gets the Aegis off, but Glory can't find the last auto attack necessary. Ferrokrik's going to be able to dump the kit and get a lot of damage onto Glory, and now Glory is forced back. Ferrokrik has done his job and survived. I don't know if I'll be able to say the same for Glory. Blink forward, Dragon Call, Wild Storm, good enough. Johnny finds that one, and he might find another here onto Moex. Meditation, though, was good, but not good enough to save him from the water illusion. Johnny jukes out the Raiju, shouts to Speed Buff and Winged Blade. I think he's out.
He should be out. He's way too fast to keep up with, and sure enough, Luke is going to opt to back off, and Johnny, if he isn't careful, he could be picked himself, but making the smart play, going straight for the purple buff. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to loop back around even, but Ferrokrik surviving there is by far what wins the team fight for Optimus Gang. Glory
messes up his auto-cancel chain there because Ferrokrik had Aegis but no beads, and usually in those instances with Thor, if you're level 20 and dunk on someone with no beads, your full combo should guarantee yourself a kill in that spot. But Glory just ended up, what, 150 damage short before the spin didn't finish off Ferrokrik. And don't know if he messed up the auto attack chain or if the Magi's Cloak and Chile, these less offensive items, are what lended itself to not finding that kill onto Ferricrick. But doesn't really matter how it happened, just matters that it did. And Glory not finding that kill ends up being the turning tide for Optimus Gang, as now they're looking for a Fire Giant.
Flores trying to do what he can to defend, but Defender of Olympus might not even have a chance to proc. He will stay alive for the moment, but that's going to put TA in a whole world of hurt that he didn't want to be caught in between.
Ooh, that boar may have saved T8, but different pathing. Caspadify gets dunked on. Both relics used to try and save himself from Glory. No one can save T8 from Sibby, but Fusify still able to find, or actually ends up falling there. Glory does as well on the backside. Caspadify able to chase him down. Flurry's very, very low, but Sibby doesn't have any more cooldowns. Ferricrick going aggressive now. No relics for Caspadify. Can't find that last shot with the Tycho drums, and now Caspadify has escaped. Thunder Crash won't be up for a little bit for Lucas, and Johnny gonna blink forward, use the ultimate as a deterrent, and force the beads out from Lucas. Do people just forget that Tycho drums CCs? Like, do they, if you 2-1, if you taunt damage there, that's guaranteed, and they can't move.
Sometimes you just gotta go big or go home, aggro. And the Lucas just wanted to use the damaging factor. I think he thought that he was going to land every single one of those shots against Caspadify, but when he wasn't able to connect, that over-aggressive chase only happens, I think, purely out of frustration and him assuming, even if I die, it's still worth it to kill Caspadify.
Well, not worth it when Caspadify lives. Both relics are still down, and Glory's ultimate is back up. So there is some opportunity now for Fear No Evil to punish once more. Glory's been finding really good dunks in these late-game team fights. He's been finding isolated carries, which isn't always easy to do as Thor, post 25 minutes. He's done a good job of that, but just hasn't been able to seal the deal. 1-7 so far for the Thor. T8 in some trouble. Johnny's got to use the beads because of that boar from Moex. Moex has had a pretty solid game thus far on the Artemis. He's been a handful, to be sure. Optimus Gang forces Fear No Evil off this Gold Fury pit.
But Fear No Evil could potentially look to contest. Instead, no, they're just going to forfeit yet another Gold Fury to Optimus Gang. They have not bothered trying to contest even once, really. And outside of that, now Moe's could actually be in a whole lot of danger. He's going to get blown up before he even has a chance to respond. Fear No Evil now stuck in between the entirety of the damage from Optimus Gang.
Glory dunked on the backline, missed on Ferricrick. Lucas's Tycho drums doing really solid damage there. To Sibby, Glory able to escape, but Johnny comes down off the backside and forces Fear No Evil back. Johnny's still looking for that execute. Blink up in about 3 seconds, but he doesn't have his purification beads. So instead, Optimus Gang head back towards Fire Giant. Moex had beads, just didn't use them.
Might not have thought that he needed them, but Lucas wishes that he had more actives to burn, but instead it's going to be Optimus Gang not even caring about diving that T2 tower. And now the only real threat, I would say, that Optimus Gang had to worry about for pulling the Fire Giant pretty much removed.
Lucas and Moex on the respawn timer. And Glory, no ultimate. I'd agree with you there. I don't think anyone from Fear No Evil is particularly keen on defending this Fire Giant. Indeed, they will let it go. Now, even though it's after 25 minutes, that's the first Fire Giant of the game, so not enhanced. Needs to respawn before it will receive that enhanced buff after 25 minutes. Next one will be, but Optimus Gang getting the base form of FG on this push.
Lucas has felt like the only real member of Fear No Evil that Optimus Gang are trying to focus out. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them really start prioritizing, committing heavily towards this Raijin. Even if he goes into the Tycho drums, there's so much burst damage in favor of Optimus Gang that I'm not sure Lucas can really survive a full kitted combo out of Caspadify, Ferricrick, and Johnny.
It's true. Lucas doesn't have a lot of extra HP in the build. In fact, 0 extra HP. Not uncommon these days for mages. I mean, neither does Ferricrick, but certainly with as much damage as Optimus Gang has, I think an Ethereal Staff would be tempting for the Fear No Evil mid laner. Though if this is a Rod of Tahuti last item, I really like the build overall. Raijin does just stupid damage in the late game once you add in something like a Rod of Tahuti. That Tycho drums can nearly 100-0 a squishy. You throw in the Raiju, and that really could be it for whoever Lucas is looking at.
I thought Glory was going to die there for a second. He throws out the hammer, and you could tell that Ferricrick's just waiting for his moment. But I think with T8 stuck right next to him, Ferricrick didn't want to bother getting taunted and having to forcefully use his Purification Beads. Typically want to save those for the Phoenix Sieges, as it's going to bank off of Farrakrick mostly in order to successfully take out these Phoenixes. He's going to be the primary zone factor, I think, alongside of Sippy.
Kismanify has just kind of been on objective duty this game. It's, hey, X-Ball, go do Gold Fury. Hey, hit this tower while Agni and Alquang do the brunt of the damage, and the brunt of the damage is going to T8. He's already dead. Farrakrick finds his 7th kill of the game. Lucas, good damage to Fusify, and he finds the kill. Glory's dunk was there just in case, but it's a 1-for-1. Left side Phoenix down. Optimus Gang heading towards mid.
And I like the idea from Lucas here. I mean, a 1-for-1 trade, usually beneficial, but using the Taiko drums to secure the kill onto Fusify, the Kakolin, who's 1 in 8. I'm not sure that's worth it. And speaking of worth it, Lucas is going to get taken out by Johnny, not really expecting the blink in.
Whoa, what was that? Lucas tried to continue the CC chain onto a Sobek that, yeah, I mean, if that wall hits and Lucas's Thunder Crash hits, Sippy dies, but so does the rest of Fear No Evil anyways. Optimus Gang just kind of gifted the end of the game here by an over-aggression in the mid lane, but make no bones about it, it was Optimus Gang's to win all game long. Johnny and Farrakrick, a combined 17 kills between the two of them, the two on top of the player damage charts, one after the other. This was just the mid-jungle show for OG.
Johnny and Farrakrick pretty much ran that entire game, and you have to feel a little bit for Lucas there. He was really trying to pick up some of that slack that his team was dropping all over the place, but Galora on the Thor, I really am just not seeing it.
It just didn't have that early game pressure, and that's what you really need against the Alquang. Like I said, he had a couple team fights in the late game where he was finding good targets, but then couldn't find the kills anyways, so how much does that really matter? I agree with you there. I think that's what I'm looking to switch up if I'm on Fear No Evil. Lucas overall, I think the Raijin was the right pick. He was doing great work in the late game. It's just that early game was a struggle against the aggression from Farrakrick's Agni. I wonder, is that worth like taking away from him? Maybe picking it for yourself? Not necessarily banning, but just being ready for it.
I think that there are certain ways to deal with an Agni. When you see the Bancroft rush early on, I think that T8 just needed to be shifting himself more towards mid and trying to punish all the time and just spam him. He doesn't have a heavy mobility. That's like ideal territory for a Thor to work around, and we just did not see it come to fruition there.
Yeah, it's a fair point. All right, let's head it over to the desk as they break down Game 1 between Fear No Evil and Optimus Gang.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Taco. Finch and Tolly here to help break down what we just saw happen there in Game 1. And yes, maybe Lucas kind of sped up the end of the game there with that play, but it kind of felt inevitable. Farrakrick and Johnny were just on a roll.
And the way he started off, he was like 2-0-2 by the 10-minute mark, or even earlier than that, doing so much work. And that's very scary to deal with an Alquang that has those early stacks transitioning into the late game. Unfortunately for Fear No Evil, Glory on the Thor couldn't really make the same kind of presence despite having the global pressure.
That's right. He fell behind real early, Glory did, and kind of never had a chance to get back into it. It felt like Farrakrick and Johnny just were so far ahead. And really, it's kind of tough because Fusify plays the Kakulin support, right? And I feel like they never really quite get everything out of that, but it didn't even end up mattering in the end because of just how dominant Fusify and Farrakrick were, and really at a certain point it transitioned from Donnie's dominance to Farrakrick on that Agni.
The Agni it made sense as to why there was a heavy prioritization of this Agni.
That's right, it was first pick, wasn't it?
Optimus Gang first picking it alongside Shibalanki. A big check mark next to the Agni. Check mark across all the picks from Optimus Gang, minus the Kakulin support. Fusify probably could have played Sobek the same effectiveness, if not better, than the Kakulin, and just allow Sibi, the Warrior versus Guardian matchup he was playing against Flores, Cerberus, that honestly could still do the same thing.
And I make sure we do want to point out, I believe it's T850 that was actually subbing in, right, for Genetics. So maybe that's part of why they go with this Warrior in the solo lane and support role, right? Maybe they can try and get aggressive, maybe catch them out where they maybe don't have quite the same communication as they would with Genetics in that slot. It just didn't quite end up working out for them this time.
Definitely not this time around, but in game number 2, they need to switch something up. Whether or not this is a temporary sub or permanent, there definitely could have been more cohesion in that dueling.
Now, here's the question as we are ready to move into picks and bans for Game 2, Tolly. I mean, is this Farrakrick Agni worth banning? Do you take that away from them?
In the first set of bans, I don't know.
But
maybe
they'll clearly
not.
prioritize it.
They did.
I don't know.
There's just so many things to ban in
That's
general.
true.
Like, they banned away, I believe it was the Guan Yu and the Ra instead, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Guan Yu, maybe you could have let that through if you're really worried about the Agni.
Well, here we are. Fear No Evil are going to be first pick as we move into the picks and bans here for Game 2. I believe Fear No Evil were first pick last time as well, and they're going to ban the Guan Yu and the Ratatosker. So far, things looking very familiar.
Definitely, as Fear No Evil electing for the first pick after losing game number 1. They might switch it up here. We'll see if they elect to go for that Agni ban. It's definitely important to figure out what went right and what went wrong, and I think there's a lot of things that didn't go correctly for their own Fear No Evil, but they can eliminate at least what went wrong right in the picks and bans with the Agni, or maybe even the Ao Kuang in the secondary ban phase.
And I think you can give a lot of credit to Lucas. Even though they were struggling, he played lights out on the Raiden, I felt like, for them. Maybe there were a couple times where it could have been a little bit more optimal using different forms of the Taiko drums.
Minus the lazy back.
There was a lazy back that last play at the end of the game, so there was some points in there that weren't perfect, but I think he certainly had a strong performance when a lot of things weren't going right for that squad. And so far, things are looking very similar.
Looking like they're going to be able to run back this Agni and Shibalanki in game number 2. Fear No Evil, they're not really worried about this. They still really like the fact that they have the Athena for either T850, or maybe they'll actually bring it back into the solo lane if that's what they want to switch things up. Discordia, the selection to synergize a little bit more effectively with the taunts. It's not going to be the Raichu Percussive Storm combination. Instead, it's going to be that Stripe Unruly Magic.
And this is already a ton of control. Remember, they did play the Raiden, so they had some control in the mid lane anyway, but now they're going to be having the Discordia there. The Strife can really be a big disrupting factor in those team fights to pair along with the Athena. One of them is going to be burning beads, so the other one can follow up, and then Artemis coming in with the late game damage.
Ooh, I love this Terra selection from Optimus Gang. You're having a lot of good long-range setup with the Agni bomb stun, and then a close range from the Terra Monolith dash through into the root. That Earth and Fury will boost some of the bombs damage coming out of Ferrocryk, and that's what you're really looking for, is putting Ferrocryk in the most comfortable position.
See what he can get done here in this next game as Odin gets banned out by Optimus Gang along with the Circuit. So still things looking pretty similar to the last game. They don't want to have to deal with some of those anti-heal options and the high-pressure jungler of the Circuit. Last time it was the Thor that Fear No Evil went to, but it didn't quite work out for Glory, so maybe we'll see him try something different.
Could be the case. At least doing something differently by banning away this Sobek selection. They recognize that it was a little annoying, even from the support position, and the fact that they could still run it in the solo lane with the Terra, it makes it the double control problematic. But control on one side with the Terra, mobility on another with Amaterasu.
Amaterasu very good at sort of boosting what the whole team can do with that AoE first ability, switching between the stances and the mirror with the damage amplification or just the movement speed buff. So Amaterasu certainly a big team fighting presence when you add on the dazzling offensive. Then over in Fear No Evil, they've got the dodgy Cerberus, so plenty of team fight in their own right. How do you keep your beads off cooldown against this team?
Good luck.
The Athena, Discordia, dodgy Cerberus, it's too much control.
That's where Cleanse comes to mind, but with only a jungle pick remaining, unless you're running Chiron or Hell in the jungle, good luck honestly getting rid of that for your whole teammates. You don't always want to go beads as a support or a soul laner, but in this game in particular, you might have to, or at least get an early Mad Guy's Cloak.
Yeah, and it's a little bit surprising to pick the Bastet. I mean, there's no CC immunity available there. I mean, this Bastet could very easily get punished by this Fear No Evil roster. I mean, totally. Optimus Gang looked great in Game 1, but I mean, does seeing these drafts tilt you one way or the other?
I think Fear No Evil should be able to have this one, the amount of control that they have. They don't have the hunt bats for the Fear No Evil, but they have everything else that they truly need. And I think the Bastet is a way to counteract bleeding versus bleeding, right? So
they have their own bleed, yeah.
Bastet, as long as you can catch the dodgy before she goes up in the Pala, maybe you get her before she comes back down.
That's not a bad call there, totally. Let's see if that Bastet pick ends up working out for Optimus Gang. Game number 2, let's get it underway.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, Bastet last pick. Optimus Gang seemed to like picking their sort of off-meta junglers last. First it was Ao Kuang, now Bastet. Two different styles, though. I mean, Ao Kuang is the late-game hyper carry, big burst in the later stages. Now, I mean, the Bastet, a little bit different.
I am not opposed to the Bastet specifically, but I am curious as to how they plan on making this work. The big thing that comes to mind for me, at least, is that it still maintains that wombo combo that Ferrocryk and Johnny were utilizing a lot in the first match in terms of burst damage. That's really all they seem to be looking for, and I think if you get a nice pounce into the Razor Claw, you're usually doing enough damage for either Ferrocryk or Johnny to pick up the kill. I
do love Athena and Discordia together. I think that does bring so much control, and control is kind of the name of the game for Fear No Evil's composition here. I mean, tons and tons of CC. Every character is going to make you beads at some point, most likely. So Optimus Gang could struggle in that regard, but hasn't deterred Ferrocrick from going for that early Bancroft's Talon once more.
The thing is, I don't feel as though Fear No Evil didn't have the same amount of CC in the previous draft. I just think that the execution wasn't there for it. Moex and T8 had a solid job done in the dual lane, but it never really transpired anything more for Fear No Evil because everywhere else on the map was just so heavily lost.
Well, no crit this time for Moex, so no purple buff invade. That's where Optimus Gang is going to go to start once more. No, I take that back. It'll be red buff start for Optimus Gang. What are the advantages and disadvantages of starting at red in the dual lane in comparison to starting at purple?
Mostly disadvantages. There's not many pros. You're losing the entire wave, which is worth way more than having both of the buffs. So at the start, Optimus Gang's duo is going to be automatically behind. Moex and T8 also will still have plenty of time to secure their own purple and red buffs, and that's going to mean that they're going to be heading back into the wave at level 2. Fusify and Caspanify should be safe, however, simply because of the fact that Moex and T8 opted to go for the red buff over hitting level 2 in the second wave. But it's just, they're still going to be slightly behind Moex and T8 because of that decision.
Well, you are able, when you start red and go to purple, then you can put your back against the purple buff wall and make sure you soak some XP, but you certainly lose all the gold and you lose most of the XP from that wave. You're ideally getting, what, like 3 creeps? The 3 archers from the tower before they go away, so certainly a risk involved. But now with the Terra, you're going to get much better pressure in this lane than we saw with the Cucullet even in game number 1. But for me, it really does go back to Moex didn't crit before the first wave, so Optimus Gang's duo lane feels much safer.
But Caspanify has to make sure that he doesn't eat too many autos from Moex because you don't want to get crit by a red buff Artemis. You think the 94s were bad in the previous match. It's only going to get worse with the red, and that is one of the other pros is Caspanify's branching bola will deal a little bit more damage, safer wave clear, and I think overall securing your own buff timers are just never going to really put you in a bad spot.
Well, it's not only red buff for Moex, but I believe he has Discordia passive on him as well, so that's extra damage. Nope, looks like he lost it, so it was taken by someone else. Because we saw he had it pre-level 1, because he was the only one doing any damage to anybody, basically, on his team. So that is something that I think teams don't really value quite enough, is how strong that Discordia passive is, especially at boxing in the early game. It makes a really big difference.
Some of the finer details when it comes to competitive play, and certainly something that I'm sure Fear No Evil probably try to make worthwhile as often as possible. But Gloria and Lucas already in a much better position than what they were in the last match. I mean, by now we'd seen Johnny and Ferrocrick starting to set up for kill number 1.
Johnny had certainly started to get a slight lead for himself. Bastet not going to clear as quickly at this point in the game. Now, once she hits mid-game, I mean, it's auto pounce away because you full clear camps that quickly as Bastet once you finish off your boots and likely Jotun's Wrath, Crusher, Transcendence, whatever you want to go in your second item. But until then, Bastet's clear speed not particularly impressive. Glory, on the other hand, his clear speed not that great, but the bleeds on the auto attacks certainly help out more so than the Bastet has in just her regular autos.
I think right now Gloria's probably slightly ahead of Johnny in terms of just raw jungle buff clear, and that's not taking into consideration of whatever Lucas and T8 might be helping him with. Speaking of which, Gloria already rotating over into this dual lane. He wants to try and pick off Fusify.
Well, blink forward, drop the powwow, and immediately go for it. Taunt stops the dash from going in its entirety, and then Fusify dashes in to a trap. That was kind of 0 for 2 on the dashes there for Fusify. First blood looks nice and easy for Fear No Evil in the dual lane.
Those creeps just perfectly camouflaging that Artemis trap, and Moex, what might have originally looked like a miss, was really just a calculated outplay.
You already know, just using it whenever, just thinking 10 steps ahead, if you will. We all were playing checkers, Moex playing 60 chess. He's that far ahead.
The real 200 IQ gamer right there.
Bless up. Johnny hasn't used his ultimate yet, despite hitting level 5. He went for the beads instead of the blink. Not a lot of hard CC to force Glory into a beads in this game. I like him starting with blink at level 1. It's a little scary against Agni and against Terra, But other than that, I think you could probably get away with it.
Easily the way to go. I'm a bit surprised that he didn't try to just go as close as possible, hugging that purple buff wall to pull Fusify into position where he couldn't as safely attempt to get back into the T1 tower, because if Fusify makes it into his tower range, that's just a complete waste for Glora pretty much, and then he will most likely end up losing the opposite side of the jungle, because that's what we tend to see a lot of competitive level junglers do. If you're getting one side of the map ganked, you go look for the buffs in the other.
Well, if he pulls Fusify through the purple buff wall, he doesn't have nearly as much DPS from his dual lane, and I think that's why we saw him actually expend the blink instead of just sitting on the wall. If he would have had the damage, I think that is better because he gets to hold blink, but not sure he had it all by himself. Mox in a bit of trouble here potentially. Johnny lurking, and this is where that Artemis can be vulnerable. Pounce forward by Johnny. Cats dropped. Defender of Olympus and Aegis used to keep Mox safe. Johnny going to be able to apply the scratchies. It's still only level 2 though, so Mox will stay safe. But that should be a preview of things to come in Fear No Evil's duo lane.
Certainly working out a lot better than before, but Farkrick could potentially be able to go in against Lucas, but Lucas just barely managing to get away thanks to the nice backup support of Glora. The Stagi pick already has me sold in comparison to the Thor.
Thor didn't have this much pressure, certainly, in the early game. Nice little juke from T8. Gets him out of the stun from Fusify. And look where Johnny is heading, towards the enemy jungle, but surprise, those are already down. And Glory is already on Johnny's jungle, stealing those XP Harpies away. The Thor pick didn't work out in large part due to just outright accuracy, but more than anything else, I think that the farm wasn't nearly as good for Glory as it has been thus far on the Dodgy. He's sitting up a level right now over Johnny. The net worth is there for him. He's up about 300 in that department. A lot of it coming from the first blood assist, but overall, just the farm pace is much better this time for Glory, and honestly, kind of worse for Johnny thus far.
Johnny having to be a lot more conservative, I think, with his mana usage, because if he wants to try and gank lanes to match what Glora has been doing all around the map, he can't really afford to use as many abilities on those jungle buffs. Sure, you get a little bit of mana return from the Assassin's Blessing, but it's usually not enough this early on to match what you originally lost.
Especially on Bastet, whose mana costs are a little bit higher. You're basically looking at one ability per camp if you want to end up mana neutral or mana positive on most junglers, and that's certainly true for Bastet, but in the early game, one ability doesn't really do it for her, so that's why you see her have some mana issues in the early stages. Some Bastet players will go for Transcendence at level 1 or Morningstar at level 1, build immediately into Transcendence, and honestly, I think I'm a fan of that. It's not my favorite on a lot of junglers, but I think the Bastet does want to spam so often. Every time you're using one ability on Bastet, you can probably be using at least 2, if not 3. So you can get off a lot more damage that way, but it does drain your mana pool pretty consistently. I think that an early Transcendence would be a strong pickup here for Johnny.
I mean, you get the power burst that you're looking for on Bastet anyway, on top of the fact that you just have so much more mana to sustain yourself with that you can actually go from lane to lane looking for effective ganks, keeping Mox suppressed underneath his T1 tower, not being able to pressure out Caspanify, and I think the 10% cooldown reduction can go a long way for those kitty cats too.
It really can. Bastet, I mean, Transcendence is literally everything she wants. She's got incredible scaling in the kit, uses quite a bit of mana, as we mentioned, and gives you an opportunity to kind of utilize all of that as mid lane. Good damage onto Lucas, but not good enough to force the jump in from Johnny. I mean, Pounce and Declaw both have 100% scaling.
One thing I do really like, though, about the Bastet pick is that the bleed should be able to reveal Lucas even if they try to escape. All you've got to do is toss out every single time, make sure that you apply that dot, and then Johnny and Farkrick should have no problem taking out Lucas. But as it currently stands, Lucas has been playing very passive, as he should, because Farkrick, yet again, with the Bancroft's Talon Rush and the Penetration Boots now online, means that he'll probably be out damaging the Discordia with just the Chronos Pendant.
You know what? The more I think about it, this is a great counter pick. Johnny has Declaw. That's the name of the third ability. Dodgy has literal claws, like they're metal claws on her hands. What is she supposed to do when she gets declawed?
That sounds painful.
She won't be able to do anything.
Beautiful taunt.
Stops the damage from going on to Lucas, who was almost certainly dead. Bead's not going to help you that much against Bastet. Really only stops the slow. coming from the Cats.
I like the discipline, though. That's probably the third or fourth odd time now that I've seen Johnny hold his beads in situations where he probably could have used them and then maybe found a pick, but rather play it safe than sorry. And as opposed to overcommitting, Johnny kind of just understanding the position he's in right now on the Bastet, and I think he's just trying to hyper-farm as much as possible to prepare for that mid to late game.
Good damage from Moex there on the Kaspanify. And it is a Jotun's Wrath for Johnny. No Transcendence yet if he does want to go for it at all. Sometimes you could just kind of ignore it. Jotun's Wrath has mana as well. It's not MP5 in addition to mana like Transcendence is, but Jotun's Wrath and Trans do work very well together because it does add in some extra to your pool, and Transcendence gains you extra power based on your overall mana pool. Much like Book of Thoth, but Johnny's got some options for himself. Glory going for that early Brawler's Beat Stick, worried about that healing from Terra, I suppose.
Feel as though an early Brawlers might not have been as necessary. The Terra heal hasn't really had a chance to come online, and Fusify also doesn't even have a Lotus Crown. He's building into physical defense. Speaking of which, TA now in a lot of trouble. Barker getting some nice damage out, but it's all about Johnny looking for the follow-up.
Ooh, Johnny just jumps over the golden apple, but T8 survives. Johnny in a lot of trouble himself, and he will get punished. Glory will chase the beads out from Ferrocryk here, but Fusify has returned. Earth and Fury used in the mid lane, but won't stop too much from going on to Ferrocryk. He was already pretty safe after all the cooldowns were down. Where the Cats kind of got blown up pretty quickly there, didn't they? I didn't even see them come down.
I don't think they had a chance, and I mean, also part of that's just credited to the fact that it's hard to actually spam your Cats with some of the AoE clear that Fear No Evil have with the Discordia, but I think more importantly, it's just Johnny not being able to confirm, and Ferrocryk even going a little bit deeper than what he was probably expecting to need to, and both of them just not able to find that last little tick of damage to take out T8 there.
Very, very close. Quick pause coming at you real quick between Fear No Evil and Optimus Gang. I remember casting their game last week. I'm talking about Fear No Evil because Lucas went for a build that I was not a fan of whatsoever. It was no Mage's Blessing, no sort of MP5 raw. This game, again, he goes no Mage's Blessing, straight into boots, but at least it's the Chronos Pendant next item. So he does get some solid MP5. I still don't know why everyone's hating on Mage's Blessing all of a sudden. That is an incredible... It's so worth your gold in the early game. I think that if you're going boots right away, you may as well pick up the Mage's Blessing, but I digress. I'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
I'll get there.
No, I think that part of the reason for it is just maybe he considers it him being able to hold his gold for more pots or possibly even more wards. I think an early boots rush, while it does maintain a little bit of survivability, I do have to agree with you. The Mage's Blessing, I think, could really go so much further for him, especially on gods that could really utilize it pretty well.
Looking like he might go into the Soul Gem next item. Soul Gem is something that we saw a ton of for a long time, and then it kind of fell off a little bit and saw a lot less of it. I believe after a balance adjustment to the item as Johnny dashes forward, but immediately pops back. Johnny's had some well-timed pounces, return pounces, I should say, to be sure. I think Soul Gem is in a spot where it's definitely a solid purchase on certain gods. I know people really seem to like it on Discordia, but I don't really see it. I like it on low cooldown spam gods, Giannis who can proc it on himself very easily with Threshold and Portal. Outside of that, I don't know. Not a huge fan.
Trap card aggro. It's going to be a Pythax piece instead.
Oh, that would be a trap for sure. Gold Fury very, very low. It's going down, and Optimus Gang will claim the bounty, but their members are in some danger. Great body blocks by T8 and Moex to bring down Fusify. The crit certainly didn't hurt Fear No Evil's case either. But support for Gold Fury, Optimus Gang happy with that, especially once they don't lose their purple buff because the damage from Kaspanify and Johnny.
Kaspanify was thinking about taking the trap. Oh, Johnny, not even realizing that he's going to get stuck in the trap by Moex, was looking for the lazy back. Now that's going to be TA sprinting straight into the T1 tower. Kaspanify going to use the beach, trying to put out whatever damage he can, but there's no way that he can contest it. TA just tanking it up for free.
Excuse me? How hard did Moex just hit Kaspanify? Was that a 400 that I just saw?
415, baby.
Shouts to Discordia passive. Moex certainly has it now. Look, Lucas got caught lazy backing last game. Optimus Gang felt like they needed to pay that back. Johnny does, but so does Kaspanify didn't really have anywhere to go after that. Looping back towards Tier 1. Why not just go towards Tier 2 there, Taco? Well, why turn to the left?
Johnny really felt as though he was safe with Caspainify, kind of just assuming that Moex wouldn't dare to venture and dive him underneath the T1 tower. One more wave syndrome gets you at your finest moments.
4-0 now for Moex, who is off to another pretty solid start. He got off to a good one in game 1 of this set. Was making some pretty solid plays through the mid game as we have another quick pause. Fear and Weevil up 5-0 overall right now. But level 13 on this Artemis, now top of the player damage charts. That Discordia passive means that he's critting. Caspainify for 400 is like a third of your HP at this point in the game. Where does Caspainify go now? And what do you do against an Artemis that's this fed in lane?
You hide under your T2 and you take whatever farm Moex lets come to you, because Moex is massive right now in the Artemis. This is kind of what I think they were trying to accomplish in the previous game, but it just never really managed to come about because of the fact that everywhere on the map suffered so much that they just couldn't provide any sort of a safety net or even possibilities for Moex to come online. Now you're getting a chance to see this late game Artemis, except it's happening at like 14 minutes.
Scary stuff for Optimus Gang to deal with for sure. Sibby had to use the sprint because he had some scary stuff going on that right lane. Ferrocrick's bombs this game just not doing nearly as much work. In game 1, he went for Spear of Desolation, third item, and this time he's gone for Chronos Pendant. I feel like the Spear of Deso is kind of exactly what he needs. Johnny wants to trade some poke, and Moex more than happy to do that. Even Ferrocrick's made his way over. Stun is good. Moex used the Aegis in response to the double bomb coming from the Agni. I think that's the right call there for Moex. Obviously, we as the spectator get to understand that Ferrocrick's the only one there, but with Johnny having just been there, you don't know how close he is. I think it's the right idea to expend the Aegis and keep your health bar high.
Firecrick, though, has been all over the map, just looking for these stuns, trying to pull actives as often as possible, and that's what we saw a lot of in the last match. Glora now going to commit, but
Goodbye.
He bit up more than he could chew.
Goodbye. The dot damage from Ferrocrick and from Johnny combined brought down the Dodgy, even once she hit the powwow button. Dashed right on top of that Path of Flame. Stricture Spirit ends up betraying Glory in that instance. That means the first kill for Optimus Gang is onto the jungler once again, and Ferrocrick is the one to claim it. Level 15 now on this Agni. You're right, he really has been all over the map, but he hasn't lost a lot of farm while being all over the map, and that's what's impressive. I mean, anyone could just move lanes and rotate all they want, but it's more about how much farm are you missing out on? Are you keeping up with your lane opponent? Ferrocrick has done a beautiful job of that thus far.
Well, what I really like about Optimus Gang, everyone is accommodating Firecrick really nicely in terms of making sure that he stays up in farm, because they're going to need Firecrick as the countermeasure for Moex. Moex doesn't have a whole lot of mobility on that Artemis, and so some of these bomb stuns could be the setup that Optimus Gang need in order to take Moex out of the fight before it even begins.
Luke is doing a much better job, though, in these 1v1 scenarios than he was last game. Raijin good in 1v1s, but the problem that he has is that Percussive Storm's a channeled ability. And it's not only easy to interrupt, but easy to punish him while he's using it, because you know he can't dash away without having to cancel his main damage ability at that point in the game. Discordia, on the other hand, is really, really tough to lock down, has good range on her abilities, low enough cooldowns oftentimes, especially now that he's got Chronos Pendant and Soul Gem. Discordia is, for my money, one of the best 1v1 fighters in the mid lane in the early game, and Lucas is putting that on display thus far.
And Johnny also has been coming up short more often than not. He'll pounce in and then be forced to immediately pounce back, and he's got to start being super careful about that now, because Lucas has the Strive, could easily root him in place, burst him down, and then there's the follow-up out of Glora or even T8. It all depends on where Optimus Gang choose to make their fight.
5-1 right now. Fear No Evil in the lead. About 800 gold, 1,200 experience, a.k.a. not a lot in either department. This next Gold Fury going to be absolutely critical. Optimus Gang has kept themselves in it by getting the first Gold Fury of the game, but lost a member for it. But that was only Fuse fine, not a big deal.
I think the big thing for me is Fear No Evil, despite leading 5-1 in the kills, they haven't really done much with it. We haven't seen a whole lot of pressuring towards T1 structures. I haven't seen them really hovering around the Pyromancer to even threaten that. This call, though, I like from Moex a lot. Already got the Gold Fury down to 30% health, but now needs to be careful about the leash because it's Johnny trying to commit onto Lucas.
Lucas very low, but Johnny's now crippled out because of that golden apple. Lucas has a Defender of Olympus channeled onto him, coming out of T8, and he's still alive. Shell will buy him another second, and Lucas is out of there. Great peel coming for Fear No Evil support, and they've already found themselves 3 kills, a double kill for Flurries included. Lucas gets punished for not just backing to base by Sibby, but Fusify very low underneath this tier 1 tower. Blink forward from Flurries, who finishes off what he started 4 for 1. But again, Fear No Evil chasing a little bit here, Taco. Looks like Sibby is likely to fall, but it'll cost them glory. Sibby eventually gets wiped, a full D aside for Fear No Evil, and this now should be an easy Gold Fury call. A 5 for 2, and Moex didn't take a lick of damage.
Moex completely destroyed the entirety of Optimus Gang with some of the assistance and backup of Flores and T8. I really liked the Cerberus was pretty much on cleanup patrol.
Yes.
The commit to find Johnny and then another one there to make sure that Sibby ends up going down. I just think that overall, Flores has been way more impactful this game on the Cerberus, and I guess that's kind of just part of not being ridiculously far behind this early.
Very much so. He's been much more confident in his play because he doesn't have to worry about getting executed consistently by an Alquang. Amaterasu is a warrior, yes, but a low-pressure one at that, and so Flores has had his kind of way with that lane thus far. Do you agree with Optimus Gang focusing out Lucas in that team fight and not going for Moex?
I think that Optimus Gang are being a little bit too distracted, assuming that they can easy pick off Lucas, but they're finding him with his actives only, and I've only really seen Johnny going in against Lucas when he has both Purification Beads and his Aegis up, so I don't think Optimus Gang are really keeping track of Lucas's relics as much as, or as well as they should, I should say, if they want to continue trying to chase him.
Pyromancer secured by Fear No Evil. They're double digits in the kill column and looking like in a much better spot. Glory gonna blink forward, looks for that Powwow pull. Ferricrick doesn't have beads. The taunt is good, and Lucas immediately gonna step up and crush him down off the Athena taunt because Moex and Flurries take care of Fusify on the other side. 2 easy kills for Fear No Evil in the mid lane. They knock down the tier 1, but I kind of like what Optimus Gang's going for here, Taco. No way for them to defend this tier 2 in mid. Try and get some tier 2s of their own. The question is, what do Fear No Evil do in response? Phoenix looks pretty tempting, but Sibby's on his way back.
I'm not sure that Sibby can really defend all by himself, though. This Phoenix is pretty slow to fall. Sibby's going to have to just use his ultimate right away and try to cut off Moex. Moex already knowing what's about to happen, uses the Purification Beads in advance.
Sibby should likely fall here. Indeed he will, as does the mid Phoenix. Now left and right tier 2s went down, so Optimus Gang collect 3,000 gold between the two, 1,500 apiece. That's pretty solid, but they lose their first Phoenix of the game. They lose their solo laner. And now Fire Giant is starting to look pretty tempting for Fear No Evil.
Fusify, though, not willing to let Fear No Evil back in peace. Caspanify coming in, too. But with the mid-Phoenix having already been stripped away, this is probably Fear No Evil's better opportunity to look for the Fire Giant. They're not the ones in a 4v5 situation. That's Optimus Gang. So if they want to contest, they're not going to have Sibby to do it with.
Though Sibby will be up in about 15 and has his full teleport when he respawns, but he might be still fighting a losing battle because Fusify might be dead once he lives. Earth and Fury gets Fusify out of there alongside a sprint. Not a lot committed, though, by Fear No Evil to force out 2 pretty solidly big cooldowns out of Fusify on Optimus Gang.
But more importantly, the crowd control from Fear No Evil has been obliterating Optimus Gang. Johnny going to use those Purification Beads, but the boar is flying every which direction. Farcrick loses his beads as well, and it's just Moex sitting at 30% health. Sibby and Caspanify trying to go in.
That's why Caspanify uses the ultimate, because Moex is so low, but he's in great position right now. Way too far away for Optimus Gang to capitalize. Did get the Defender of Olympus chased out of T8, but that's A-okay. By Fear No Evil, he probably wanted to be back in that fight at that point anyways.
Johnny just can't get near anybody from Fear No Evil. The second that he shows up, it's just one giant cluster of Fear No Evil, and they have so much frontline peel and support between the Athena and the Cerberus that Donji, Discordia, and Artemis are just after the fact.
Another Brawler's Beat Stick, this time by Johnny, and I get the one for Glory. I mean, you've got an Amma who heals a lot. You've got a Terra who heals a lot. Those are fine. Bancroft's Talon and for Ferricrick, sure. But I do not like the brawlers here on Johnny whatsoever. I think that trans could have been even easier. I don't know that it really matters in that spot. Just use the extra damage. Sibby, ultimate, finds the Aegis, immediately will eat an ultimate of his own. Glory barely able to get up into that powwow. No dot damage to bring him down up there, but he's just buying time because Flurries brings down Sibby on the right. Johnny pulled back in, and he's looking to chase this kill, but is getting punished for it. Pounce back, brings him to safety as Flurry's going towards his team. Good damage coming out of Ferrocrack, but not good enough quite yet. Flurry's still alive, but Johnny looking to fix that issue, and indeed he will do just that. That's what Bastet wants to do. Get in, get a kill, get out. Optimus Gang doesn't look like they want to get out. Ferrocrack gonna dash forward. Boar gonna ping pong around a little bit. Ferrocrack's Aegis sees him from quite a bit of damage, as now Lucas is under siege.
But it's all about Farcraig. Nobody realized that the Agni's just getting bursted in the backside. They all tried to help peel for him, but Farcraig dashing so aggressively, gonna put his team in a tight spot. They do lose their Agni, but they managed to find the Dodge in return. It's kind of just an even trade out.
2 for 2. Optimus Gang certainly starting to fight a little bit more evenly with Fear No Evil. The lead is really not that much as it felt like Fear No Evil's in control of this game. Experience is actually in Optimus Gang's favor. I don't know how that happened. And 1,300 gold lead is literally nothing at 2,400 gold.
I think this is exactly how it happened, though. You've got Johnny clearing out the bombs, but no one from Optimus Gang realizes that it's Moix and T8 securing the Fire Giant.
Man, that's a feels bad for Optimus Gang. They're doing so well, fighting against Fear No Evil. They're crawling back into it, and then they just let a Fire Giant go. Johnny, if he just backs instead of clearing out left side jungle, is likely there to contend. Sibby's clearing a mid wave while Fire Giant goes down. Just can't, just let it go. They just let it go.
Optimus Gang just seemed like they thought both sides were content with how that fight broke down, and they're like, okay, we'll just wait for the next Fire Giant dance, see you guys in like 2 minutes when everybody's respawned and we've all had a chance to back and spend some of the gold. Moix and TA, they're not looking to play it the same way. They just immediately run towards that Fire Giant, managed to re-siege it. It does appear as though T8 also utilized that Defender of Olympus, just one of the benefits of having globals.
Double Magi's cloaks here, and Johnny is in a safer spot because of it. Glory eats about a third of his HP from the poke from Johnny, who has gone for Transcendence now in the later stages. That Magi is certainly going to help him quite a bit. As relics are coming up on both sides, I think Fear No Evil's composition really excels when Optimus Gang doesn't have relics, much more than Optimus Gangs does when Fear No Evil doesn't have their relics. The CC chain potential from Fear No Evil is just outright stronger.
Which is why I'm almost expecting there to be even more Magi's Cloaks built eventually for Optimus Gang. And they are only trailing by 2,000 gold, which is why I think that they're looking to take a stand underneath this T2 tower. And even Fear No Evil still trying to give respect to Optimus Gang. Not really looking to overcommit. Glory, though, going to go straight onto Johnny, even after losing 70% of his health.
Johnny has to use both his relics. Still has the bubble, and that'll get him out of one CC, not the other. Moix receives the Defender of Olympus from T8 as he was under some pressure on the right side, but Johnny just too aggressive again on this Bastet. It felt like he understood his role so well on the Ao Kuang, going in late, after skills are down. Being the initiator as Bastet is not good. That's my analysis.
I don't think he was expecting Glora to turn, because Glora is down at 30% health, but it was Lucas and Flores just saying, yeah, go in. That really encouraged Glora to, I think, commit there. Otherwise, Johnny probably just pounces away, no problem, no questions asked, gets away with poking out Glora and kind of putting Fear No Evil in the position of, do we really want to try and siege the T2 tower? Is that going to be possible with one of our members having already lost a majority of their health bar? And 4 ultimates were used from Fear No Evil in that engagement. It's just that Optimus Gang were unable to come up with anything. They had 3 people on their jungler, and yet no one could find Moix.
Moix was safe and sound, all by himself, basically, but still safe and sound. Johnny's kind of the one that can close the gap the most easily. No blinks for Optimus Gang. Wonder when the last time we saw a team with no blinks was. That's pretty rare, it feels like, these days. But Moix is much safer because of it. Playing an Artemis, blink is kind of one of your worst enemies. When you don't have to worry about that at all, Moix has got to be feeling pretty good.
I almost feel as though Johnny kind of did himself a disservice, though, by not picking up the blink on Bastet. At least then he wouldn't have to commit his pounce every single time he wants to go in.
Sure.
We've mostly been seeing Johnny dropping the pounce, I think, also to funnel into that passive and get the bonus ability damage with everything else. And I can understand that, but you also want a getaway.
That you do. Can you could pounce in place and then like blink, chase someone, and then pounce all the way back to your initial blink spot, right? Because it doesn't put you in combat. It shouldn't. I don't think. That'd be pretty dope. That'd be pretty dope.
You have to worry about not getting hit by creeps. I'm not sure if it still applies, though, with just the pounce in place.
Yeah.
Because if somebody sees you pounce in place and you're not ridiculously far away from them, I think that
sure.
that's just going to prompt.
I mean, like, if you're coming out of the jungle, you, like, pounce, then run after them, blink, 2, 3,
I know that used to be,
back.
like, an old thing, but I'm not
sure.
100% certain as it currently stands. I do believe that would effectively work if you don't get interrupted by any damage because you're not technically in combat, so it should apply no problem. Kind of reminds me of the old days, though, with the temporary teleports and the Bastet pounces. Man,
Bastet has had some oppressive times, hasn't she? I mean, everyone I think remembers the CC immunity when you pounce in, and you just are CC immune until you pounce back. That's those were dark times.
Those were great times, not dark ones.
What do you mean? You're
being CC immune no matter what.
Well, okay,
that was fantastic.
All right, so you were cool whenever Agni had CC immunity on his dash?
No, he's a mage. They are disgusting.
Taco, I don't appreciate
your
bias against mages. I don't understand. I just don't get it because you like big damage numbers. You play a lot of assassins and hunters. Mages do the same role as both of those characters.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Mages do it in a way that make you feel really bad. When you do it on an assassin and hunter, you're like, damn, dude, I'm actually good at this game. But you do it with the mage, and you're just like, oh, look at this giant circle into the next giant circle. Man, that was hard.
You're right. Hitting a raw snipe, hitting someone with a raw snipe feels horrible. It just...
I wouldn't know. My teammates never do.
I'm saying you could be the one hitting the raw snipe, Taco. Give it a shot. I'm telling you. Right side Phoenix Siege.
Production has my back. The chat can't hear him, but we can.
Joe, no one needs to know what Joe just said. Nuwa is a skillful character. I don't care what anyone says. Okay, the ultimate isn't, but the rest of it is. Right side Phoenix, the Siege opportunity. Look at how far that left wave is pushed up. It'll be difficult for Fear No Evil to cascade these Phoenixes together particularly easily. Is Johnny going to go in once more in the mid lane, trade poke with Glory. Glory tricks her spirit into the wrong target there, and now Johnny is going to make him pay for it. Tries to force the ultimate and does. It'll cost Johnny his Magi's cloak, but it'll also get another ultimate out of T8. Johnny's A-okay with that trade, I think.
I think Johnny got away with murder there. If anything, Glora is so unfortunate that Trickster Spirit just heads onto the minion. I'm not sure if that's what Johnny was intending for, using the minion as his decoy, but if it works, it works. And there's no real complaints being able to burn 2 ults for the price of nothing, pretty much.
That will stop the siege. Fear No Evil feel like without those ultimates, they can't make it work. They'll back to base. Now, they have Fire Giant for quite a bit longer still. Still over 2 minutes on that buff, so the ability to reset, finish off some items, and re-siege isn't a bad one. Get their buff on the left-hand side, push up that left wave a little bit, and Ethereal Staff is now done for Lucas. That's the I want to do as much damage as possible with my first hit build. Soul Gem, Soul Reaver, Ethereal Staff. I'm about to start a petition that Ethereal Staff should be renamed Soul Staff, because all the other like big burst on one ability items are soul items. Soul Gem, Soul Reaver. I think it makes sense.
I could see a Soul Staff. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But then we lose the nostalgia factor. Speaking of which, T8 going to dash right into the center of the match. Fusify already taking a pretty chunk of his health, being eaten away. There's some follow-up from Lucas, and Flores with a great stun there onto Firecrick.
E-Staff is a long-standing item in the game, and that would make me a little bit sad. We get another E-Staff, I suppose. Then you can go for the staff build. Mid Phoenix is already poked. to about 3/4. Dashed on a Caspadify. He's going to use the beads and the ultimate right away, and immediately Fear No Evil is on the run. Moek still nice and healthy, though. That boar ping-ponging through the team fight. Sibby's already dead. Lucas going to knock down Caspadify as well. Fusify eliminated by Flores. In a flurry of abilities, 3 members of Optimus Gang fall, and Fear No Evil's pushing for the Titan.
I almost feel like these two teams just traded places for a moment. It's crazy how much of a difference one draft can make. Johnny trying to make it back into the fountain, but the Trickster's Spirit from Glora going to ensure that he does not live.
Game 2 to Fear No Evil, a much better performance from them that time around. It felt like Glory was much more comfortable. That time Lucas was able to get off to a much better start, but overall, that was the Moek show to me. I mean, he just made a statement in that duo lane.
Moek's hard carried, I think, everybody to being beyond relevant in that game because having such a great start, it's not always easy as the hunter to avoid getting heavily focused. I think that there's huge shout-outs to Flores as well as the Athena T8 because without those two, I don't think we see Moek survive probably 9 out of 10 times.
It's true. It's difficult to get onto an Artemis when there's 2 Guardians trying to protect her. Game 2 goes the way of Fear No Evil. That means we got a Game 3, but before we get to that, we got to get to the desk so they can break it down.
You, Taco, for breaking that one down for us. It's much appreciated. Finch and Toli here. And Toli, I mean, you heard him say it. Moek's out to a great start, but how'd he do it? He was fragging early on. How'd he get to that point?
He was surviving a lot against these Bastet ganks. You know, the boar itself gives you CC immunity, allows you to stun the jungler that doesn't have any sort of natural CC immunity. And on top of that, T850 playing the Athena yet again, being able to disrupt the flow of the Bastet. Couldn't come online. Johnny did well in game number 1 when he was playing the Ao Kuang, but Bastet in game number 2, I have to scratch my head on that because you don't have CC immunity. What are you going to be really doing that's useful in these team fights? They need to reevaluate the composition because there was just so much control from Fear No Evil between the Athena, Discordia, Cerberus specifically. You got the boar from Moex that just popped off.
And by the time it got to the board, they're actually having the team fights. Moek is already so far ahead, but this is a good look at early on when he's able to get the good rotation over from Glory as well on the Dodgy. And this is just another part of it. It's too much control. We highlighted it in picks and bans when they pick the Bastet and when the game starts off. There's tons of setup for this Artemis. I didn't think it would happen this early. It's very rare for hunters to be able to pop off quite this soon, but there's so many tools around, like this taunt, to force out beads to put Moex in a position to do well.
And especially those crits coming through every now and then.
Yes, he got some nice early crits.
I think he got 2 of those crits in the early game when they found the kill onto the Terra, and then that one last crit onto the Shibalanka. I'm expecting a lot more of this kind of style in game number 3. If Moex popped off like this in game number 2, where it was picked right before secondary ban phase, I don't necessarily expect an Artemis ban here, but I think that they're going to draft, or Optimus Gang are going to draft a composition where they will punish this Artemis a little bit more effectively.
Yeah, it seems like the big difference has been what's Johnny playing. When he has something that can be very aggressive early, it worked. When he had the Bastet that got countered, or not so much countered, but didn't get off to as good a start, it didn't. Let's see in game 3 if that's going to be the focus here for this Optimus Gang roster. Are they going to try and get a priority pick here for Johnny?
And the thing was, even despite all the early game pressure that Moex was applying onto Optimus Gang, it was also a close game up until that free Fire Giant.
Yeah.
Around 25 minutes. It was, I think it was 2-for-2 exchange where T850 then eventually just started tanking the Fire Giant for Moex to absolutely melt down. Optimus Gang got caught slipping, couldn't contest it, didn't even try to bother.
Well, right before that, they got the deicide, right? I think it was like at the 19.5 or so minute mark where Moex was once again unchecked in the fight, and there's great setup from Flurry Zeverton on the Cerberus and everything to set it up for him, but he's free to just kind of cast in the backside. So yes, they end up with those objectives because repeatedly Moex gets lost in the fights. He's just a little bit ahead because Spainify never gets to have the impact on the Shibalanke because of how far ahead his direct opponent is.
Already looking at the first couple of bans, Optimus Gang are not interested in first picking Athena for themselves. Going for the raw strategy, Ferrocrick will have the range he needs.
Like it on the raw pick. This one actually, I believe, has been banned away for the most part. They've been kind of worried about this raw has Fear No Evil, so it's time to see why exactly they're so worried about it. We've seen Ferrocrick do great things on the Agni so far, so if he can make that raw work as well with a little bit more sustain to go along with it, then they can certainly have a good game.
A Ratatasker to pan up
Another one that's been banned.
With the Artemis. I like this idea because now the Artemis doesn't have to deal with that Ratatosker global pressure. Any sort of pressure you take away from the late game Hunter to give her that breathing room to thrive in the early game, the Gold Furies start raking in, the Pyromancers start adding up to give your team a lead.
And this is why I like that we're doing the 3-game sets now, though. At the beginning, you see stuff banned out, and you're like, I wonder why they're banning this stuff out. And then as the set goes on, you got to start banning other stuff. It starts to creep in there. So now we're going to get a view of what it is that made these Ra and Ratatosker so valuable between these two squads. As the Odin comes in, a great answer to the Ra. Could be a potential problem for Faircrick.
I'm surprised that the Kumakarna was picked over the Odin, but it does make sense still because you have a lot of control. You're able to really dive this Artemis, get the pressure off, epic uppercut, just driving people into the sky. And keep in mind that when you break the Mez early, that reduced amount of attack speed hurts Moex's late game.
That's right, and I like the idea they're going right back to this Artemis for Moex. He has a great game on it. Why not give it to him again? But can you sort of replicate that? Can he make it happen consistently? It's going to be the big question here in Game 2. As Fear No Evil turned their eye a little bit towards Johnny. Remember, that was my focus. Would they get him a pick early on? They didn't, and now the Dodgy gets taken away.
Well, they gave Faircrick a lot of freedom with this Ra pick.
Yes.
So that's, you might not have given Johnny his carry potential, but there's still a lot of hyper carry gods in the jungle position still. Susanoo comes to mind. Ao Kwang, if Optimus Gang want to run that back compared to game number 1. Going to be tricky, though, to run the Kwang between both the Odin and the Sobek.
Tier comes out. Gotta think that one's going over to the solo lane, and that is I believe that's a Sibby special. One of those picks that we see him play plenty else. I wouldn't be surprised he grabs that one for himself. And if he can get even a little bit of a lead over there in the solo lane and then rotate over with the damage, with the control, and get them low enough for the Ao Kwang Johnny executes to come through, then Optimus Gang certainly could have a good game.
I think that there's going to be a lot of solo lane attention from Johnny in this particular game. Whether it's the Odin or the Sobek, doesn't really matter. You're trying to get them off the board, build those Ao Kwang stacks.
We got a combo as old as Smite itself right here, babies. Odin, Cage, and then the Zeus ult. They're almost the perfect size to put right on top of each other. It's just you're stuck in there and you don't want to be in there.
Some of the early gods, actually, the beginning gods of when Smite was actually released to the public, along with Artemis. So 3 of 5 gods from Fear No Evil just really making its appearance back again.
Well, totally. Now that you've seen both drafts, it sounds like the casters are ready. I got to ask you, who's going to take this set here in our Game 3?
I think if Johnny can go off again like he did in Game 1, it's got to be the Optimus Gang show.
That's right. These are the 2 carries, right? It's Moex on the Artemis from Game 2, Johnny on the Ao Kwang from Game 1. Who can do the carry here in Game 3? We're about to find out. Casters, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. You know I'm excited, because it's going to be a dope game, and for no other reason whatsoever. Game 3 between Fear No Evil and Optimus Gang. Look, Optimus Gang go away from the Agni in the mid lane. A different look for Faircrick with the Ra, but Johnny goes back to the Ao Kwang. Got some solid setup with the Kumakarna there, but overall, this team composition feels a little bit riskier to me.
It's a lot more risky, but I think that there's also a little bit better opportunity, same as well, because of the fact that they have the tier. There's a decent amount of control, I think, between the tier and the Kumakarna. It's just, can you successfully find the kill between their 2 kits?
Right, that's it's going to be interesting to see. Something to keep in mind about Ao Kwang and characters like Ra, everyone thinks of King of the Eastern Seas as the execute, but it does just toss up into the air and guarantee setup for something like a Ra Snipe. Something to keep an eye out for is Moex, this time on the other side of the map. This is the first time Optimus Gang's been on the order side, and they're going to pop the sprint, looking for the kill onto Moex. T8 actually gets the pluck to make sure that Fusify doesn't find it onto Moex. I think his Hunter was okay, and now this lane clear is just shot for the duo lane.
This is going to hurt for sure. Fear No Evil just do not have a chance to try and contest inside of this wave. Moex doing what he can to take out those melee minions, but still has to worry about the archers pretty much. I like the decision, though, from Optimus' Gangs duo to not overcommit into Fear No Evil's jungle. Artemis still has a lot of that turn and burn factor, even in the early level 1 stage, and Caspadify probably still remembers how Game 1 went.
Probably. That early crit, man, still coming back to haunt him a little bit. Check out this start, this solo lane, though. Warrior's Blessing, for my money, could be the best blessing in the game. And Sibby doesn't go for it, instead goes for the Mage's Blessing. What do you think about it? Tier, I mean, we've seen it before. Do you think it's the right call?
He's looking for the ability damage, and I'm almost curious if he's trying to connect the Fearless every single time Flores looks for a jump into the wave for clear.
Could be looking for kill potential there. Can interrupt a lot of that damage from the Bird Bomb with the Fearless Power Cleave combo. I will never be upset to see a tier in a game, man. It's so much fun to watch this character make big plays.
This is also Sibby's god. It is the tier. That is his back against the wall kind of selection. He's going to default to this tier almost every single time, or at least that seems to be the case. And I love it. I think that the tier has some awesome opportunities here, especially for Farkrik. And if Yusufai isn't able to connect with the Mesmerize onto any individual target, I mean, you never know when that Lawbringer or even just a Blink is going to be coming over the wall, following up with the Fearless. It's just a lot of a shock factor that could be applied here from Optimus Gang's draft.
Are you concerned at all about the mid to early game for Fear No Evil being like kind of the end-all be-all? I mean, you've got Moex in the late game, but Artemis is one of those characters that if you don't get off to at least a decent start, you don't have to get a lead, but if you fall super far behind, you feel pretty bad. Fear No Evil feels like a team composition that if they get behind early, they could stay behind all game.
I'm surprised you would say that because your baby's on their team.
I know, but Zeus is like, you got to get off to an early start on Zeus, right? Like, you have to. Otherwise, in the late game, lots of mages do Zeus level damage, and all of them have escapes anyways. Zeus is really all about that early mid, man, and for that reason, I like this build a little bit more on Lucas, who again hates Mage's Blessing and goes for Boots 2 and Lost Artifact to start the game, then backs and finishes his Boots early on. But Fear No Evil has to fight. Like Rat Zeus in the early game, you have to fight early and often.
Typically, but I really love what Glora is already doing. Caught Johnny sleeping. Johnny looking to split one more wave, and because of that, loses the blue buff for his solo laner, loses his back Harpy, still sitting at level 4. Glora on the Ratatosker at 5, and Flora is going to be able to confirm his own buff. Glora doesn't even have to split any of that XP, so that's also going to benefit the solo lane even further than just stripping away Sibby's blue.
This is the difference between Game 1 and Game 2 already, is that the Thor couldn't clear nearly as quickly as the Alquan could in the early stages, and Glory fell behind, was also just late to his camps and things of that nature. This time it feels like Glory woke up a little bit in Game 2. Now in Game 3, he is farming like a maniac. I mean, he's been all over the map, getting camps everywhere, and stealing away XP and blue at the same time is a really big deal to make sure that Johnny is at least a little bit further behind him in XP per minute. And it's actually more than I thought, about 50 to 40 XP per minute, which is a pretty significant gap for junglers.
Ratatosker just has always felt like the safe version of Thor. Thor, yeah. I think you can, the skill cap ceiling is so much higher, and there's a lot more that you could probably finesse with there. But Ratatosker, if you're just trying to get the job done, he's usually a pretty solid go-to. And between Glora and Lucas's ultimates, I think there's a decent amount of damage to be had. I am mostly just concerned about how the Odin cage is going to play out, because while it's effective, well, it's in place, there are ways to work around it, and as it currently stands, there hasn't been any early Phantom pickups from anybody out of Optimus Gang, probably because they were anticipating the Odin to be solo and not as concerned about some crazy, unconventional early game rotation that's going to catch everybody out.
Ultimate onto the support, but T8 still has a dash. Double ults expended, but sprint used as Glory thought about going through the Cosmos to impact this duo lane, but realized probably wasn't even necessary. Moex is doing very little damage at this point in the game, still hasn't back to finish off his spiked gauntlet. Definitely just an overcommit there onto the Sobek. Fusify and Caspadify should know that they have no kill potential in that spot. Like 0.
It's to strike fear in their hearts. You're supposed to strike fear in the hearts of your enemy, aggro.
Establish dominance is what you're saying.
Optimus Gang's duo lane clearly alpha in that regard.
Nothing establishes dominance like saying, hey, both our ults are on cooldown. That scares you.
Including the Darkest Night.
Yeah, that's true. That
and your jungler is here.
Yeah, that's and we don't care because we don't have ultimates, so who cares? That's kind of what they were saying there.
They don't need the ultimates, that's the point. Speaking of which, Lucas probably wishing that he had a little bit more health. Looked for the setup, I liked it from Johnny, but he won't connect.
That's first blood, Fear No Evil, the turnaround potential, baby. That's Zeus in a nutshell. Turn and burn. Johnny just goes a little bit too aggressive.
Just go for the snipe.
And gets the Zeus juice, but it's too high. He's too healthy at this point. The health potion from Lucas, I believe he had, ticking up, keeping him safe from that snipe. Raw snipe won't do half your health at this point in the game.
I think Firecrack was thinking about it, though. The way he was moving up in the mid lane could have...
I'm sure it was tempting.
The searing pain onto Lucas would have definitely killed him, but because of those purification beads, I don't think that Firecrack felt like he had the appropriate setup that would have guaranteed the connection. And sometimes you just have to cut your losses. Johnny having those 2 detonate stacks around him, or the 2 lightning stacks around him, it's just way too much damage. And that's what you were just talking about, Aggro.
Yep.
You've got to get off to that early start, and, well, that's certainly one way to accomplish it.
T8 pushing forward. Still okay. He's Sobek. He's always okay. Yeah, I like the idea there from Optimus Gang. I mean, like I said, Ao Kuang ult is phenomenal setup for Raw Snipe, but just a little bit too aggressive.
Ooh, speaking of too aggressive, Flora could be in some trouble here. Snipe will come out, but it's not going to connect. Firecrack just slightly to the left of Glora's head, and Flora probably getting his lucky stars that one didn't end up happening because he did use his purification beads, and that would have been a double whammy for sure.
That is not what you're looking for. Moax has to use the ultimate in response to the root from Fusify. The board does some solid work. Now Johnny's in a bit of trouble, and here comes Glory through the Cosmos. Good damage onto Johnny, and that should be an easy cleanup kill, but Firecrack actually finds T8, and Glory's looking for a little bit more than just one kill. Caspanify will fall to the detonate, and over the wall, Lucas drops the Lightning Storm. He gets 1, Glory the other, 4 in total fall on Optimus Gang. And again, you want to fight early, and you want to fight often, and Fear No Evil has fought early and often so far between the mid and jungle, 2-0 and 2 for each member of Fear No Evil's mid and jungle combo. Love what Lucas and Moax are doing here. Pass the Gold Fury back and forth. Nice and easy. An early lead for FNE.
I know it might be a little bit too early still to say, but Fear No Evil, Game 1 was looking more and more like the warm-up round.
Yes.
For sure, because that was a bit of a questionable start, but sometimes it's not about how you start, it's how you finish, and right now, Fear No Evil have been looking pretty fantastic, if I'm being honest. Glora and Lucas, this is the same sort of synergy that we saw from Johnny and Firecrack in Game 1, now transpiring towards the enemy team, and that's probably their worst-case nightmare if you're on Optimus Gang. This Zeus getting off to such a phenomenal start. That second item, Ratatouille Rush aggro.
You know what? I don't hate it here, and I'll tell you why. Lucas clearly backs with enough to finish it, because he backs and finishes it, and gets ring 1. It's not that much more expensive than Chronos Pendant. And it does provide a lot more damage. Zeus doesn't really need that much CDR anyways. You really want to make your actual just first rotation count. Lucas will have to count something else as he's got 27 seconds to do so. He goes back to base. Firecrack, good pathing, gets him out of the range of T8 for the moment, but still looking for it. Good root over the wall from Fusify, saves the life and guarantees the kill for Johnny. T8 just way too aggressive in that spot. How to throw a lead 101 right now by Fear No Evil. Ultimate on the Glory, but literally no one home in the mid lane. Rod of Tahuti is like so much damage on Zeus that it's not that bad. I am worried about Lucas's MP5, but Rod gives that anyways, so not too bad. Glory's got to use the ultimate defensively. I've just been trying to make a point about Rod of Tahuti, and Fear No Evil has lost so much during that time that I'm going to stop talking about it now.
I think Fear No Evil heard both of us a little bit earlier on. The compliments to him flying, and of course the Caster's Curse comes into play. I think
it seems like your Caster's Curse, I don't know if I had this conversation with you, I think it was with Finch, that I'm now convinced that all of us have our own special version of Caster's Curse that takes different times to like actually go into effect, kind of like a Patronus, if you will. Like we all have our own. It seems like your Caster's Curse takes a little bit longer to go into effect, though. That was a solid like 20 seconds before it started happening. Mine is very quick. Mine is like 3 seconds. But yours is a little bit more delayed overall.
I'm just seeing further into the future.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just that's just the way it goes. It is what it is. Just letting you know.
Some of us are also kill specific.
Yes, that is true. You gotta. I've been cursing a lot of people recently by calling them dead before they are. I've been trying to stop, but you know, I'm bad at what I do, so it's difficult for me to do so. 3-4. Optimus Gang behind in kills. Fear No Evil right now. About 500 gold in the lead for FNE, but that's not a big deal. Sibby lurking looking for Lucas. No one here to follow up, but he doesn't care. All aboard right into the mid lane. No beads for Lucas. No life. Sibby with the tier makes it happen on the rotation.
All aboard.
It's a great skin, isn't it?
That's a pretty good one. I always forget about the tier voice lines
tier
on
has
some of them.
so many good skins. You have to play like 6 tier games every time you play tier, so you can at least cycle through all his good skins at the same, in one night. The private tier, S+ level skin, for sure. Snipe gonna land on the T8. He still has his ultimate, but Johnny is lurking. This is trying to go for the execute on the T8, and he'll find it. Another one onto the Sobek. That's 2 executes in total now for Johnny, and he's gonna chase down Glory, who was in the ultimate, looking to help out his support, but he knew it was too little, too late. Still a big XP lead for Glory in the jungle, but when an Ao Kuang has 2 executes 12 minutes in, that extra power and magical lifesteal is a little scary.
Looking mostly towards the magical lifesteal, at least earlier on. I think that weighs a little bit more. And speaking of which, Flora is going to jump straight into Firecrack inside of this pit. He's going to drop this Odin cage, but still has nowhere left to run.
Oh, Johnny doesn't just hold the water illusion to get out because he knew Firecrack had it. That's just good synergy there. Easy peasy. Nice snipe from Firecrack. Actually hit Glory as well, just for some extra little bit of damage boost, as another blue buff this time goes to Sibby.
Johnny let him go. That way, Flores would line up with Glora for the double snipe combo. And I feel like Glora has just been a little bit late to the party on more than one occasion. He started off great, looking fantastic, and then it kind of just started to falter. First, Lucas gets picked off some hyper-aggression, I want to call it, by Optimus Gang, Johnny, and Firecrack, and then comes back to the lane immediately. Collapsed on again, this time from Sibby, rotating all the way over from solo to ult into the T1 tower, and you just have to wonder, where has Glora been on like those past 2 responses?
Hasn't been there in time, that's for sure, as he went for another early Brawler's beat stick. This one makes a lot of sense into the Raw, and of course the healing from Johnny. Love that Firecrack is going for an early Rod of Asclepius, though, because it will boost the healing from Johnny's Bancroft's Talon, from Caspanify's Lifesteal, even from Sibby's Power Cleave. That'll help out in that regard.
Probably the most important itemization bio that I've seen is Glora with on Keeley. Speaking of which, Johnny forced into the boar already. Moex trying to run away wherever he can, but Fusify, one more is going to do it.
That's 3 executes now full for Johnny. Firecrack is in trouble on the backside, so Johnny going to come in and help him out. Bird Bomb, not quite enough, but T8 will finally finish it off. Huge Lightning Storm, though, going to do a ton of damage onto Johnny and Caspanify, but not enough to bring either down. Glory looking for it, but he finds it. One last auto did it. Fusify answers back, though. An absolute bloodbath by the Gold Fury. 2 for 2 ends up being the call.
I'm almost surprised that Optimus Gang even managed to leave it at just the 2 for 2. I thought for sure that Johnny was going to end up falling there also, but Caspanify fortunately taking the brunt of Glora's attention. It means that Glora trades out his own life for the Hunter. And Moex, we all saw what happened there.
Tough for Moex. Just got chased down very early on in that engagement. For as good as the start was in Game 1, the start has been equally bad here in Game 2. He was down almost 2 levels, a level and a half, just now hitting level 12. Both Hunters are sitting over in the kill column. 0-2, actually. The kill line is worse for Caspanify, but he's gotten 5 assists with that Darkest of Nights, and is just sitting at a higher XP right now, so Moex not going to be able to dominate in the mid-game like he did last time.
I think Moex is actually about a level and a half behind Caspanify, and Caspanify hasn't even really been zoning the creeps. He could have been freezing the lane, but he's been more than happy to clear it out. I think the main issue is that Fear No Evil, one more time, I'm not sure they properly know how to respond to that that posed threat of the Ao Kuang.
Yeah, the Ao Kuang has certainly been a problem for them thus far. As once again, Johnny sticking to the exact same build that he went in Game 1, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Winged Blade, 3rd item. Certainly good again here. I mean, lurking in the water slow, suppress the insolent slows, the chain lightning slows. Those are all things that Johnny wants to get away from, to be sure. And of course, the Gungnir's Might. Can't forget about Gungnir.
Going back to what I was originally referencing, though, this on Keeley pickup from Glora is perfect here. It's the exact item that you'd want against the Ao Kuang. Should hopefully be able to buy whoever it is nearby Glora. Glora, I think, needs to just sit next to Moex.
Gold Fury, this is gone. Fear No Evil get it. And Caspainify realized something was wrong, and he used Darkest of Nights to try and force Fear No Evil off of it, kind of bluffs to try and force them off gold, but they don't take the bait. Fusify blinked forward, gets beats out from Lucas, now hits the epic uppercut, but is going to be in a bad spot. He's been taking tower for a while. Glory gonna get in there and punish. Fusify, my dude, what was that?
What?
Sibby now in a ton of trouble. Lawbringer, actually enough to get him out of danger until Flurry blinks forward. Still can't find it with the might, and Johnny executes on the backside. A game of throws in the mid lane. Both teams getting a little sloppy.
What the hell was that, Aggro? I can't find the game plan there, no matter how I look at it, but I know that one for sure. Fire Quick with the long time range of a snipe, gonna make sure that Johnny gets an easy pickup, and Fire Quick, well, he'll return the favor against Lucas.
Good Aegis, just in time. Glory finds Caspainify in the mid lane. It's something is going on here. I don't know exactly what. Farrakrick steals red buff and will die for stealing red buff. A lot for a lot. I'm not giving you exact numbers because I'm pretty sure people respawned in the middle of all that. I know because Fusify died, so at least 4 members of Optimus Gang fell. It should have been a full deicide, really. Sibby somehow managed to escape. I don't...
It's just the...
This is where I'm happy I'm chair 1, Taco. Take it away.
You know when your parents ask you, if your friends all jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? That's that moment in a nutshell, is Fusify jumping off a bridge and saying, hey, Sibby, come join me.
Well, Sibby lived at least. Had better form than jumping, I suppose. Sibby
He technically jumped with the Lawbringer.
He did. He did. And the form was excellent, was it not?
Strong enough to get him out alive, and Johnny somehow managing to find a kill in all of that to really start off that bit of a bloodbath. And in the end, it really doesn't amount to much more. I think that still technically favors Optimus Gang just a little bit more because they were the ones who managed to secure the T1 tower, but they did just lose the Gold Fury. So my only assumption is Fusify believes everybody is still backed long enough for him to dive a T1, no problem. And then he remembers he's level 13, and towers do a lot more damage than they used to.
Yes. Yeah, not the look for sure. I think that definitely favors Optimus Gang because the longer they can rope Fear No Evil into a Clown Fiesta, the better, because their late game is just better than Fear No Evil's. Caspainify in a ton of trouble, stunned and knocked up by Glory. Flurry will confirm it. That's about as easy as it gets for a jungler. Caspainify had the beads, but no Aegis. Decided to hold on to the beads. Don't hate that call. He's probably dead. No matter what he does, then that spot is Optimus Gang's response is going to Portal Demon.
Looked as though Caspainify might have been caught out of the Rising Jaguar also because you get that noise sound cue, so if he started trying to channel it and then was knocked up in the process, you're not CC immune the whole way through. You have to have that little bit of a charge up period, but now Fear No Evil has an opportunity to push for more, and I like this. Moek's going to pop the Caledonian Boar immediately upon Fusify blinking in.
Fusify once more blinks and once more punished. Farrakrick tries to Lassus the entire enemy team, but he's not Lassus, so it doesn't work out. Lightning Storm is good, but Phantom is a little bit better, but that Chain Lightning was huge! Zeus, baby, gets a kill, but Johnny gonna answer back onto Lucas. It's a 2-for-1 in total as Caspainify's on his way back to help defend.
I felt that. You could see Sibby trying to spread further and further away, but it was just too late. The slow had already been applied, and there was no chance Farkrick on a mobile Raw is going to be able to get out of that one. Speaking of which, Johnny still looking for more onto Glora, but Moex, now letting everybody know where he's at, could mean that Sibby and Caspainify are just going to farm the mid wave.
Yep, trap was good. Keep Sibby off of Moex's back. I don't know how I feel about the Phantom on Sibby instead of on Fusify. I think if I'm going one tank with Blink, one tank with Phantom, I'd much rather have Tyr have the Blink, right?
Oh yeah, every single day of the week, because now you're relying on Sibby to just either slowly walk around behind everybody, which you don't even know what's going to happen to the team fight depending on how long he's out of it and what angle he's approaching from, or you Lawbringer in and then you lose your ultimate escape route and just have to bank on the chance that your team wins the fight from your Fearless.
Look, I think both of these characters are phenomenal with Blink, and ideally they'd both have it, but when there's an Odin on the other team and your Ra and your X-Ball or that susceptible to the Odin cage, you're kind of forced your hand. I'm also a big fan of going double Phantom. One Phantom's pretty easy for Odin play around, 2 is nearly impossible. Sibby gonna hoist the sails and try and get in there, but can't do so. T8 just able to dash out of range of that Fearless. Is now Glory gonna take to the sky. T8 already pretty low, but Flurry's gonna come in and get a pretty decent cage off on a just Caspanify, but that might be enough to make it work. Lucas is Lightning Storm and Detonate get the job done, but Fear No Evil just used 5 ultimates and only got 1 kill out of it.
Did Sibby still have his Phantom up? Actually hold that thought because they're still looking for more. Optimus Gang don't want to walk away from this one completely devoid of anything, and that's going to be Johnny finding the kill finally onto TA for having used that lurking in the water earlier.
Johnny retreats towards the mid lane. Sprint used by Fusify just in case as Sibby stuck the back as he's trying to teleport in. You think Fear No Evil has an advantage, that they really do not, because here he comes. Fearless gets both carries, and Johnny's there to capitalize as well. Moix and Lucas both escape with 1 HP, and both are brought down very quickly. Glory trying to answer back at least a little bit, but Johnny seems to have gotten out of there for the moment. Ferrocrick snipe confirms Glory on the backside. A double kill for Optimus Gang's mid laner as Johnny escapes. Every run from Optimus Gang now up and healthy, and Fear No Evil's on the other end of that coin. Only the 2 tanks up, and Flurry's too low to help contest.
Sibby's just going to chase him out regardless. Doesn't even want the thought of an Odin possibly bird bombing in for the steal onto this gold, and this should be free for Optimus Gang, and in fact it will be, as they confirm the 3rd Gold Fury of the match.
2 of them under Fear No Evil's banner. Optimus Gang get their first of the game, and it makes a big difference. All of a sudden, they're up a ton of XP, a good chunk of gold as well. 3K, not a lot at this point in the game, but certainly worth mentioning. Should lend itself to vision control being in Optimus Gang's favor. But more importantly than anything else, they're at 23 minutes in the lead with a team composition that, at least on paper, should do better at this point in the game anyway.
Something I wanted to touch on, though, from that last engagement is the other problem I have with Sibby picking up the Phantom. He's your frontline harasser of Fear No Evil's backside, so he's never, or hardly ever, I should say, going to be near Caspanify and Farrakrick. He's going to be trying to approach the backside of Fear No Evil, and so with him having the Phantom, who's he really using it on?
Yeah, it won't be easy for him. Solid damage there from Lucas, but it's onto the 2 tanks, and Farrakrick is playing a healer, so that won't be particularly relevant. Blink forward, right into the epic uppercut, onto Lucas. Perfect combination. Who cares about relics? That's a kill for Optimus Gang. Cage was decent, forced out the Phantom, but without Lucas's damage there, that cage becomes a lot less relevant. Optimus Gang now gets a reset. Once more, Fear No Evil use 5 ultimates. This time they don't even get the 1 kill. And this should be an FG, potentially, for OG.
Without Lucas, there's no one to really steal this one away. Farrakrick has the Celestial Beam and the Searing Pain available if he so chooses. One of the benefits of playing Raw is just how often that ultimate is available for you. And Optimus Gang, no problem, able to confirm, while Moix patiently waits to see what happens next between Johnny and Fusify.
Don't think Moix really had a choice. Didn't have any relics up in that spot. Love what T8 does. Prevents Johnny from getting in to follow up off of that as the siege begins on this right side tier 2. Optimus Gang gets this one nice and easy as Johnny's in kind of an awkward position, but Water Illusion puts him in a much more comfortable one. Tier 2 tower falls on the right. Optimus Gang now grouping towards mid.
Still, Fear No Evil know that Optimus Gang aren't going to do anything too reckless just yet. I don't want to say that they won't do anything reckless, period, because I don't think I've managed to forget about that Fusify T1 play yet. Yeah. But Optimus Gang, I do like their current decision, spending all the gold that they just acquired from securing the T2, the Fire Giant, Lucas's bounty, and I think now would be the ideal period for Sibby to kind of just pose an immediate threat in the jungle, just like hovering around the corners. You don't necessarily have to reveal yourself, but Sibby most likely will show face just to let them know he's there. And without the blink, I'm pretty sure Fear No Evil are kind of expecting that Sibby's going to have to be in more obvious spaces. I'm mostly keeping an eye out for Fusify on this blink Kumbhakarna. I don't hate that Fusify has a blink over a Phantom, because I do think that blink is an awesome relic for Kumbhakarna in terms of being able to focus out carries. It's just that Fusify is around Optimus' game carries more often, which is why the Phantom could have possibly gone a long way there instead of Tibi having to fall back to help him out.
And that last team fight's the perfect example of why it's better to have Kumba with the Blink, because Blink tier wouldn't have done anything. 4-man cage and no Phantom up. Lucas gets to rake in the damage. A double kill for the Zeus, and that's easy cleanup there. And that's why 2 Phantoms is almost always right.
Was that? I think that might have just been 20 seconds from when I said I don't think that Optimus Gang are going to do anything too reckless.
Yeah, that was about 20 seconds.
It was about 20
you.
seconds, dude.
Your caster's curse, about 20. Just try and space it out. That's what you got to learn how to control it now, Taco. You've learned your powers.
Great power comes great responsibility.
Sure does. Can't wait to play that Spider-Man game.
You guys can PayPal me later.
Yeah, tier 2 tower going down on the left after the tier 1. That's what I mean. Like, yeah, it sucks not having Blink on Kumba, and it does so much for you. But if you just don't have Phantom at the wrong time, the Phantom was up for Sibi in less than 5 seconds, and who cares how long it was down for? The fact that you didn't have it just lost you all of your momentum. All of it. Like, it is harder to win without any Blinks. It is not as hard as winning when you don't have Phantom against Odin Zeus. You know what I mean?
And when you're all grouped together. I understand Optimus Gang, though, wanting to walk together because that's usually the safe bet. I also think that Civi probably called to his team 5 seconds on Phantom and didn't think that Fear No Evil would take that specific moment. It is pretty unlucky that is the exact moment Fear No Evil managed to find them was when there's 5 seconds left on the Phantom.
Doesn't help him now, does it? I mean, being lucky or unlucky, whatever it is. Flurries gets the cage of dreams, and Lucas gets the follow-up of dreams.
His player damage shot through the ceiling.
Oh, man. That is truly the Zeus dream. The only thing better than that is a 5-man Athenaton. Like, that is it. And even that might not be as good as a 4-man Odin cage with, like,
that was like the perfect coverage. Maybe like a Hou-Yi ultimate on top of that.
Yeah.
But that's like extreme overkill.
Got to give shout-outs to Mifflin and Unream, by the way, because they did a 5-man Athenaton into a Zeus ult once, and I lost my damn mind. Just because I wanted to be the Zeus player in that spot.
Wait, 5-man Athenaton, though. I feel like that should be not possible, like competitive.
Well, it happened to my old boys, too.
It happens to the best of us, it seems.
Unfortunate.
Was that when you were on a team with Chapo, by the way?
No, I was casting, Taco. I just told you that. Ultimate from Fusify. Lightning Storm's there to try and dissuade some extra aggression. Phantom not used quite yet. Now Zippy's going to get in there and make sure that Phantom hits everybody, but already Caspanify very low. T8 just able to get out for the moment, but Johnny is about to reap the rewards. That's an easy double kill for the Ao Kuang, and he's looking for more. This is Penta territory here. That's a triple kill for Johnny Glory. Going to shut it down, though, before he can get even to 4. Fusify will answer back. For as good as the last fight was, being 4 for 0, Optimus Gang get another one, 4 for 1. As Fire Giant isn't up quite yet, but Optimus Gang are going to go for it awfully soon here.
It's Lucas to defend against 4 members of Optimus Gang, and
maybe they don't go for fire. Maybe they just end.
I think they can just end. You've got 14 seconds left on T8 before he respawns. Farcryk taking up the Phoenix as much as possible without creeps.
Yeah,
actually, it's going to be unlikely.
Yeah, this is the right call. It feels bad to stare one Zeus in the face and say we can't end the game in this spot, but without any minions to tank up that Titan, I think that is the right decision from Optimus Gang, and now they can just go to Fire Giant and get that enhanced buff pretty easily for themselves. I say that, but Flurries is teleported in on the backside, and I doubt Fear No Evil know about it, or Optimus Gang knew about it, until Fear No Evil told them about it. Flurries goes in and forces them back.
Optimus Gang not as healthy as they probably want to be here, with everybody from Fear No Evil having freshly respawned. Caspanify a bit low there on his mana. Farcryk kind of in the same boat. This could possibly be an opportunity for Fear No Evil to pull the Fire Giant and force the fight, knowing full well that Fusify just had to back.
Sibi here with ultimate. No Phantom for 12 seconds, but look at Johnny coming around the back. Lori going to go up into the sky as Fear No Evil going to push it into the enemy jungle. Farcryk falls, as does Caspanify. Believe that was a cage that made it happen. Johnny able to come back and answer with 2 quick kills of his own. It's doubles on both sides, as Johnny's still nice and healthy, and that's the one you got to watch out for at this point. in the game. Glory's not going to do nearly as much. Execute there, another one for Johnny. And this is where Alkwong has reached critical mass. Full build for Johnny and another multi-kill in a late game team fight.
Johnny not realizing the Artemis trap though on the ground. Gonna delay him for a second, is chasing Flores, but now between Sibby, Fusify, and Johnny, this Odin should end up dying.
I don't know how much I love this chase call though. I mean, couldn't they get Fire Giant here?
They don't want the Fire
members?
Giant. I think they don't want it because Firecrack and Caspanify were still dead.
Yeah, that's true. They wouldn't get that buff. Red buff strip away, and Johnny, if he wanted to, could just go sneeze on that tier 2 tower and left. Decides that's against his wishes, and instead will head back towards Fire Giant now because Firecrack and Caspanify have respawned and will get that buff once completed. That cage was excellent from Flurry as it caught Firecrack and Caspanify, but it didn't find Johnny. And that's the problem with Alkwong. You can kill the other damage dealers, but he'll do enough by himself to make up for that lack of DPS.
And speaking of DPS, Fire Giant, with a little bit of added help from Firecrack, gonna end up falling here. And one more time, Optimus Gang have the momentum of the FG. Question is, will they end up getting caught out in another 4-man Odin ring into the Zeusel?
Well, Phantom's up this time, so I doubt that'll happen quite as easily as it did before. I imagine that Sibby will be holding that. But there was the exact instance that you were talking about. Sibby's trying to harass the enemy backline. His backline gets caged, and he's nowhere close enough to help them with the Phantom. And as a result, Firecrack gets beta 5 fell with relative ease, even through their Aegises. But this time around, I imagine Sibby will be a little bit closer to his squad, just on the nature of sieging as opposed to jungle fighting.
It's crazy how back and forth this match has been, though, between these two teams, because right as you think that one's getting the edge over the other, it's immediately 180'd again, and it's just been a reoccurring theme between these two teams in that Optimus Gang, for as ahead as they might seem right now, Fear No Evil could very well end up turning this game back into their favor.
Feels that way. Great poke there on a Caspanify and Firecrack from Lucas. 17k healing, nearly 18 on the top half of 17,000 healing for Firecrack. So what Raw brings to the table, man. Take away every point of damage that Odin has done, and or every point of damage that Moix has done, and half of the other one, basically. Fusify blinks forward. Lucas uses the beads in response, and still had the Magi's Cloak bubble. Fusify is the focus for now, but he doesn't even take that much damage as Glory's looking for him. Snipe gonna hit nearly everybody. Firecrack just knocked down that team fight very quickly. Lightning Storm doesn't do a whole lot for Lucas. Phantom was used, but Optimus Gang can just heal it up pretty easily here. 5 ultimates for Fear No Evil, all used, whereas Sibby and Johnny both still have theirs.
Really nice base breach, though, by Optimus Gang. It's not easy trying to tackle sieging an objective against a Zeus composition. And now Flores, without that Odin ring, won't pose as much of a threat in the mid lane here, as Optimus Gang still look for more.
Lucas has no beads and no bubble, and that's exactly where Sibby's heading, but he doesn't have a lot of help quite yet. Johnny likely will be behind him looking for an execute if it presents itself, but instead may as well look towards the mid, because mid Phoenix falls with relative ease. Right side Phoenix has respawned, but it's still pretty weak, and fire waves are coming up that right side. Mox, welcome back to the fight. Johnny uses everything, though, and he's dead to rights here. Lucas punishes him for it, but it did take Fear No Evil enough time to where that right side Phoenix fell, and the cage was used by Flurry, so even this chase isn't as appetizing.
I don't think Sibby's even remotely concerned about being controlled this damage himself, but the Curse Donk has been applied. This could be problematic if it wasn't for the fact that T8's already fallen so low.
Glory gonna come on down, not from the Cosmos, but from the Epic Uppercut. Lucas still pushing forward. Darkest of Nights will put a stopper on things for the moment. Great snipe once more from Firecrack, but just short of the damage numbers necessary to find the kill onto Lucas. Meanwhile, though, T8 doing his best to clear out multiple waves of minions. His Titan already below half.
And that's exactly why we see Optimus Gang pushing even deeper. Moeg's going to finally end up falling here. Great control by Sibby, catching him in that tier Fearless. Glory going to blink in onto Farcrick instead. And this is what we were waiting for.
Oh, man. The Odin Cage again. By the way, Titan got pulled by Fusify, then reset, which actually healed it up. Fear No Evil with the successful base defense, despite not having a Phoenix or even a structure on their side of the map. Optimus Gang now forced to wait a little bit longer.
That Titan went from like half health to full.
Yeah, resetting Titan is not a good idea. It heals it a lot.
They reset it so many times, too. I don't even think it was just that one instance. I'm pretty sure that they kept pulling it and then forcing it back, and it was just a nonstop leash.
Optimus Gang just had no patience there. I mean, you just wait for the fire waves to come in alongside you. That's where the problem really presents itself. If Fear No Evil can kill you, then clear waves, they don't have to worry about it nearly as much. Glory should be worried about what Johnny's going to put onto him, and indeed, his ultimate will be forced. But if Optimus Gang just chill for a little bit, get some fire waves coming up left and mid, and then push for the Titan, I think we're on the desk right now, Taco.
Probably the case, but sometimes that's part of the beauty of the minor league scene. I think it's where you really get to see the amateur hour kind of shine through, but it's also fun because you get to experience the progression with these teams and with these players. And I think that since these teams are a little bit more experienced than some of the others currently competing in the European minor league, that is probably just an impatience factor because you want to close the set out.
Well, Optimus Gang is trying to just do just that, but hasn't been easy for them thus far. Odin Cage has proved to be a problem. But really only when Phantom's down. That's kind of what Phantom's there for. And Phantom's up currently for Sibby. Left side Phoenix soon to be up as well, but blink forward from Fusify, looking for Lucas. He uses beads instead of the bubble to get away. Fusify able to escape low on HP, but T8 goes swimming for no real reason.
Fusify gonna get healed right back up thanks to Farcrick. And left-hand Phoenix, I have a feeling this won't be standing for much longer. Right after, as quickly as it respawns, it goes right back down, and Optimus Gang most likely gonna end up giving the same treatment to the rest of Fear No Evil's Phoenixes, and maybe hope for some picks in between.
Johnny takes a decent chunk of health from the pressure from Glory, but raw heal is a pretty good ability. Johnny now nice and healthy. Once more, mid Phoenix is the call. Optimus Gang playing it slow this time around. Link forward, Flurry's there, but no follow-up. Lucas is so far back. Phantom doesn't even get used because no one else was even close enough to help Flurry's out. And now he gets hit by that uppercut, and the snipe. Caspanify will finish it off as the Titan is in some trouble. Sibby is the one diving the fountain, but the Titan is not particularly tanky. That was a lot of damage onto it for just a moment. Optimus Gang does reset it though, heal it up a little bit, but they've got healing on their own, and they're going to try and use it. Lucas misses that chain lightning, didn't use the shield in conjunction to guarantee that hit. Wouldn't have brought anyone down, but certainly could have forced an Aegis or done good damage to Caspanify, though to be fair, with the healing that Optimus Gang has, how much does that really matter? And this is what Optimus Gang did last time, but will they be more patient this time around, looking for the end?
Not having to worry about Flores is probably going to be the best part about it. All eyes are on this Titan. Fusify and Sibby just trying to zone everybody away, and that's going to do it as Optimus Gang claimed game number 3.
Man, that was a really back and forth game. It's felt like both teams had their opportunities. The big difference for me, Moex, 0-6 that game. He was the dude in game 2 for Fear No Evil, just couldn't make an impact that game.
I think the first pick, Artemis, was too revealing and a little bit too obvious also. I feel as though probably halfway through that second game, Optimus Gang were already trying to come up with a new strategy to take out Moex because he clearly had way too much of an impact getting as far ahead as he did on the Artemis. And then on top of that, I think it really all boils down to that final play by Flores. That also seemed like a little bit of an impatience factor. Yeah. He sees an opportunity to cage 4 people and just goes for it without thinking, is there follow-up?
No, Lucas wasn't there to help out. And Odin Cage is great and all, but you need the rest of the ingredients to make it work, and there was only one in that instance. Optimus Gang take the set 2-1. Let's throw it over to Finch and Tolley so they can let you know what happened.
That must have been tough to watch for a die-hard Zeus fan, as in the end he cannot find the W. Just too bad for whoever that guy is that loves to watch Zeus play. But Finch and Anatoly here, a great victory comes out from Optimus Gang. And even though that Odin-Zeus combo was potent early, it wasn't enough to get it done later on, Toly. What was the big difference here?
I think that there was a lot of situations where the Odin was getting himself into sticky situations. That one time where he jumped over the blue buff, Ferrocryk at the right place at the right time, punishes him for his transgressions, trying to escape that one. And it was just a combination of two factors. We introduced it at the beginning of Picks and Bans where it was going to be Moex's Artemis versus Johnny's Ao Kuang.
Yeah.
Moex went 0-6. Johnny goes 16-5, and just wrap it up from that one, honestly.
That's the big difference, right? That's kind of the difference throughout this entire set is just how well Johnny plays. I think we got some of Johnny's finest moments coming up here in just a moment. But in Game 1, Johnny went off, right? Game 2, it's Moex that goes off. And then in Game 3, when you put him head-to-head, this time Johnny came out a little bit better. And really, it still wasn't even going to be that big of a problem for No Evil because of just how well they were playing around Lucas's Zeus. In the end, it just wasn't enough.
And there wasn't that much protection in game number 3 for Moex compared to game number 2. Optimus Gang do a great job banning away the Athena that T850 was, using to peel, whether it was the Defender of Olympus or the Confound taunt. And on top of that, without the necessary peel for the Artemis, you're also not having the necessary peel for the late game Zeus, which was making such an impact in the earlier stages that just couldn't really make a repeat performance in game number 3.
And we talk about it sometimes. The Odin Cage is nice because it does lock everyone in, but it's like kind of soft control, right? It's like you can't go beyond this area, but you're not stunned. You're not taunted, So sometimes you can be a little bit lacking of just a little bit more control in these comps, and I feel like that's what ends up punishing them when they are able to finally make it back there towards Lucas. When Lucas and when Lucas and the Odin don't quite connect perfectly, then the rest of the team fight kind of goes Optimus Gang's way, and that's what we end up seeing here in this
And
set.
Ferrocryk was doing a good job just like holding his own in the back line.
Yes.
Utilizing his knives very effectively. The longer these team fights panned out, the better it was for Optimus Gang being able to heal out of combat, re-engage back in. And almost 40 minutes of play, Optimus Gang, a well-deserved Game 3 victory.
And Ferrocryk, you're right, does a great job staying relevant. He could have very easily been punished by this Odin combination, and he was to a certain extent, but just not as bad as it could have been. But let's go ahead and take a look at how everything ends up shaking out after that set here in the SML. You can see a bit of a rise there for Optimus Gang. Now 4-1 right there, still on the heels of Insignum, their greatest competition. Insignum got to look out for this Optimus Gang squad.
Fear No Evil dropped down now to 2-3 in the set categories. And keep in mind that this is week number 3, so this is the beginning of the end of the first half. There's going to be more of these rematches in week number 4, so there could be some revenge for Fear No Evil. They got to do their homework and make sure that they don't let this Ao Kuang have this kind of performance in the future weeks.
And then over on the other side, North America, you saw how close Very Nice to Me and Voltic are. Both still undefeated, but one more gameplay Very Nice to Me. So Voltic trying to stick right with them at the top end of North America as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule and see what matches you can look forward to throughout the week and which matches are happening off camera. And that Very Nice to Me Voltic matchup, that's one that's going to be happening, a big-time matchup. Also, want to make sure you're checking out Voltic towards the end of the week, Friday, up against Space Station Gold.
We usually save the best for last, and whether or not they're in the SPL and the minor league Space Station doing their work.
That's right. They always seem to be doing pretty well. We also want to let you know that what everyone is working towards toward the end of the year is going to be HRX happening November 16th through 18th. So grab your tickets now. Watch SMITE World Championship for PC, Console World Championship, Paladins Console Wars, and really this SML is going to matter for that because the placement rounds, that's going to include some SML teams as well. It's going to include the SPL Global Series. Everyone's going to be a part of it.
It's going to be a lot of action. We're going to have all these teams internally trying to filter them out until the best of the very best. And a couple of weeks before the traditional January side of things, so you want to make sure you prepare for that on your calendar.
It's going to be a lot at that place in round, to the point where Ryan's already picked out a spot, he said, to sleep here, since we're probably not going to get a chance to go home. Totally. Have you done that kind of prep work, considering how much SMITE there's going to be happening?
I just don't sleep. That's kind of like
that's
my
a
thing.
Good plan.
Yeah, that's my bit. I just don't sleep.
Just stream instead, right? Check out the real Tolly hours in the morning on the Tolly Lounge.
I got a lot of tea.
That's right.
Keeps me up.
But that's going to do it for the SML. The SPL going to be starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. I believe that's a little bit under an hour away, so just check right back here with us. We're going to bring the SPL for you as well. And thank you for joining us for the SML. We'll see you shortly.